Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto x Gabriel in high school DxD. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Zero Master of Oz Zero and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Planet Earth, Everest. At the peak of the tallest mountain known to man, Mount Everest, a young-looking man can be seen staring down at the frozen tundra. His sapphire blue eyes scanned the surrounding plain with something akin to boredom, which was matched by his stoic demeanor. The cool morning breeze swept by, blowing around the man's crimson hair. Closing his blue orbs, the redhead released a sigh that was drowned out by the mountain breeze. "Why are you here?" asked the man to apparently no one. With his eyes closed, his lips twitch upward momentarily before going back to utter indifference. For a moment, no answer was heard, but soon the sound of wings flapping and the cutting of air resonated from behind the red-headed man. After, the sound of feet walking on snow appeared from behind the man, moving to stand just behind him. "I was just looking for you," came the melodic voice of a blonde female that was now standing behind the male. Her sparkling blue eyes stared at the back of the redhead's skull. Without a comment, the blonde stepped forward and stood beside the man, looking over the small grouping of pine trees, their hands millimeter apart. "It's been weeks since anyone's heard from you," continued the female. A playful smirk appears on her delicate face. "Some of the other clansmen started to assume you ran away from the stress and isolated yourself on some frozen tundra." The young female couldn't help but let out a soundless giggles at the end. A faint smile appeared on the redhead face as he clicked his tongue in amusement. "How absurd," commented the man. "As if I would leave my home on such petty reason. I just needed a break from all the work. It can get stressful very quickly." The young woman frowns, but before she can say anything, the red-haired male continued. "I know you didn't come all the way here just to see if I'm alive," stated the male, turning his head slightly. The blonde did the same, their blue orbs staring at one another. The male couldn't help but soften his eyes as he gazed onto the beautiful blue orbs of the golden-haired female. "What is the real reason you are here, Gabriel?" asked the redhead, his sapphire blue orbs staring intensively at the seraph's sparkling pair of aquamarines. The blonde-hair angel released a sigh before looking him in the eyes. "I'm worried," admitted Gabriel with a defeated sigh, before looking at his gaze again. "I worry about you, Naruto. You are always under constant stress from your duty as the heir to the Gremry household. You barely have any time to do what you desire, and then you have to be looking over your shoulder because of me. If the devils find out, they'll disown you. If the angels find out, they will burn you." By now Gabriel was a shivering mess. Her body was shaking and tears fell from her eyes. Seeing his beautiful angel in such state, Naruto immediately wrapped his arms around her and held the blonde close to him. There was nothing that pained him more than seeing his beloved hurt. It pained him more knowing he was the cause of her pain. "Shoo," whispered Naruto as he stroked her silky golden threads. Gabriel's hair was always one of his favorite aspects of her. After Gabriel started to calm, Naruto separated the embrace partially, and tilted her head slightly so their eyes locked. A painful ache appeared in his chest as he saw her puffy red eyes. It truly hurt him to see his beloved in such a state. He couldn't bear to see her like this, so he pulled his angel in another embrace, barring her head on his chest. "Don't worry, my angel," soothed Naruto, stroking her golden locks. "Everything is going to be fine. I don't care if I have to fight Michael himself. I'll do anything to be with you." The red-haired devil then planted a kiss on her porcelain forehead. Gathering herself, Gabriel hesitantly broke away from the embrace and planted a quick kiss on his lip before breaking apart. "I know you will," muttered Gabriel as she hugged him again, enjoying the feeling of his muscular chest on her head, and the warmth that always seemed to radiate from him always soothed her. It was one of the many things she loved about Naruto. The blonde-haired beauty released a satisfied sigh as she felt his strong arms wrapped around her slender waist. She always felt safe in his arm, which was ironic since he is a devil, and she's an angel. It was almost poetic. Two different people from two different fractions, one of the light, and other of darkness, managed to become lovers. "It's just that you, Naruto, are a very busy person, not to mention one of the strongest and most influential devils in the underworld," said Gabriel softly, her face still buried in Naruto's firm chest. Said blonde just stared at her worriedly, almost like he knew what she was going to say, but that didn't seem to stop him from caressing Gabriel's silky threads. "You don't need someone like me to hold you back. I'm nothing but a burden to you," finished Gabriel with a sad smile. She knew that was true. Naruto was a very busy guy. Being the heir to the House of Gremry meant that he was responsible for the welfare of his clan. And on top of that, Naruto was tasked by the four great Satan to be their ambassador, the representative of devil kind, meaning that he has to travel to different regions to meet with other fractions and somehow gain their alliance. It was harder than it sounded. Naruto has to deal with constant pressure, not only from his kinsmen, but those from other fractions as well. He doesn't need her to cause him more trouble. Their relationship was what can be described as a forbidden love, like those from fairy tales. If word got out about this and any of the great three faction found out, Naruto would have to deal with the fallback all by himself. The devils would most likely brand him as a traitor and would sentence Naruto to be executed. But it is likely that they will just banish him from the underworld due to his status. But that just means that the angels will have an easier time hunting him down. Naruto wouldn't lose easily, Gabriel has seen her lover fight before and can honestly say that he is stronger than her and maybe as strong as her brother, the first son of the biblical god Michael, but not even he can deal with constant burden of attack from heaven's force, and that if the fallen angels wouldn't interfere, which they will most likely would, she, herself, will most likely be shamed by the angels, but they can't really do anything because Gabriel is the second strongest angel there, she's just below her brother. The soldiers of God can have her excommunicated because that kind of decision can only be made by the archangel, in other words, her brother, Michael, and she knew for a fact that Michael will not do anything to hurt her. He was always a softie for his only sister, so in the end she would most likely receive light punishment, while Naruto will be on the run for the rest of his life. That was why she didn't want to have this kind of intimate relationship with him. Don't get her wrong, Gabriel loved Naruto with all of her heart, I mean how can she not? He is willing to do anything for her and was still faithful to their love even though they have limited time together. Added to the fact that he is constantly surrounded by beautiful girl, both from his peerage and his fan base, that just proves how much Naruto loves her, and it truly warms her heart, but being with her is practically taboo. He would be in so much trouble for being with her, and Gabriel couldn't stand the fact that her being with him could be the reason he is killed. She wouldn't be able to live with the guilt. That's why it would be better for both of them if they would end their relationship now before anyone finds out. It would be for the best. Even though her heart was screaming at her to do the exact opposite, she was willing to forfeit her own wants for her love's safety. Is that how you really feel? Came the concerned voice of Naruto, breaking Gabriel's train of thought. She nearly flinched upon looking at her love's eyes. They were filled with so much sadness, she couldn't bear to see it, but somehow she still found it in herself to gaze. Releasing a humorless chuckle, Naruto lifted Gabriel's angelic face, forcing her to meet him. If that's how you really feel, the red-haired devil released another soft chuckle before continuing. Then stop. His eyes turned serious and his lips thin. Gabriel's eyes widened slightly at Naruto's sudden change in tone. The devil's eyes softened as his fingers lightly brushed against her milky white cheek, which now sported a light dusting of pink. No matter how much they did this, Naruto seems to be able to make Gabriel flush. It was both infuriating and invigorating sensation for her. Gabriel, my angel, you are in no way a burden to me. You are my beautiful girlfriend, my gorgeous lover, my soulmate, said Naruto with so much passion in his voice, causing Gabriel to tear up slightly and unconsciously lean forward. Their faces are so close right now that they can feel each other's breath. You are my passion, the fuel that kindles my flame, my reason for continuing to live in this god-forsaken world. By now their faces are millimeters apart. You, Gabriel, are my purpose. Without you, I wouldn't know how to survive in this world. He places his hand on her face, cupping her cheek with one hand, while the other was on her shapely backside. Don't ever think of yourself as my burden, Gabriel, you are everything to me. With that said, Naruto leaned in and planted a soft kiss on his angel's lips, something she was quite eager to return. Pulling their interlocking lips apart, Naruto's sapphire eyes stared straight into her aquamarines. Either because she wanted to, or from what her beloved just said, Gabriel didn't want to wait, so she slammed her lips to his, engaging in their favorite pastime though, with more passion than last time. Her arm immediately went around his neck, pulling her red-haired devil closer to her, while Naruto placed one hand on her back, while the other secured her hip, his finger touching her round rear. Breaking apart from their intimate activity, Naruto proceeded to engulf his beloved Gabriel in a loving embrace. His arms rested around her waist, her head on his chest. For a moment they just stayed like that, ignoring their responsibilities for that instant. They were Naruto, the heir to the house of Gremory, and Gabriel, the strongest female angel in all of heaven, but just as two people that are in love with each other, wanting nothing more than to spend the rest of their lives together. Alas, it was not meant to be, at least, not yet. The two still held many responsibilities. They wouldn't as of yet be able to fully dedicate themselves to the other. It wasn't the time, but hopefully someday in the future, they'd be able to live together in peace and harmony. I love you, Naruto, whispered Gabriel as she snuggled deeper into his chest. Naruto's heart swelled upon hearing those 4 words. He would never get tired, hearing her proclaim her love for him. Stroking her golden, silky locks, Naruto whispered into her ear, I love you too, my angel. The underworld, Gremory Castle. Releasing a frustrated sigh, Naruto schemes through another paper before signing it. It was just a progress report on the agriculture development of a small clan of devils that decided to live out their lives as farmers in the human realm. Normally, Naruto wouldn't have to deal with this, rather it was the job of the 4 great Satan, but since they were all too busy, Naruto was tasked with the job of overlooking the development instead. He, of course, knew that them being busy was nothing but cow's crap. The 4 great Satan barely do anything these days. Seraphal Leviathan was tasked with foreign affairs, meaning she was supposed to handle all things involving other fractions, but instead she focused her time on her kids' TV show, Magical Girl Leviathan. The document he was working on now was supposed to be done by Seraphal, but instead of reading it herself, Naruto had to do the labor and send it back to her so she can stamp it, since she is technically in charge of that part of government. Falbium Asmodeus was charged with the military of the underworld, but the man was too lazy to train the soldiers, and that's where Naruto came in. It was his responsibility as the Duke of the Underworld as well as the Satan's chief advisor to perform the duty of anything the four great Satans doesn't have time for. So with that role, Naruto had to train the elite soldiers. It was a good thing the generals can train the others. At least he didn't have to do any documents for Lord Asmodeus since he has to do those himself. In his opinion, the Satan that was the worst was his older brother, Surzux Lucifer, the current leader of the four great Satan, and the king of the underworld. The man was responsible with the welfare of the citizens and was tasked with making allies with other fractions, but since Naruto is his brother, Surzux tasked him with most of his duty. It was how he became the ambassador in the first place. Surzux wanted to spend more time with his son, so he sent Naruto out to make allies, handle the negotiation, and send weekly reports to him on how the negotiations was going. Naruto even had to send Surzux monthly reports on their current allies and the new ones that joined. It was the most tiresome of all the duties he has. The only Satan Naruto has no problem with is Izuka. The man was responsible with the technology of the underworld, and he took his job seriously. Most of their weapons are created by Lord Beelzebub personally. The man even invented the evil pieces system, which is, in Naruto's opinion, the greatest invention ever to be created. The only thing Naruto had to do for Izuka is sign the documents of approval for money the Satan needed, because somehow he unofficially became the treasurer of the underworld since the old one died. Releasing another sigh, Naruto pulled out a folder labeled Crescent Clan, which was the name of the clan that was working the field in the human realm, and placed the document inside. Hovering his hand over the folder, Naruto gathered magical energy into his palm, and the Gremory magical seal appeared underneath the folder. Soon, the folder disappeared into thin air, teleporting into the one of the many valves inside his office. Before he could continue with his work, a knock was sounded on his mahogany door. "Enter," commanded the ambassador as he picked up another set of documents, an intrigued look appearing on his face as he scanned the heading. The door opened up, and a beautiful woman in her early 20s walked in. The woman wore an aqua blue kimono that showed a generous amount of her bosom. The dress shows off her shoulder and hugged her slender waist, with a slit on the lower part, parting her dress and showing glimpse of her mile-long, creamy legs. A white ribbon was tied to her dark hair, letting it fall on her back. "Lord Naruto, would you like something to drink?" offered the raven-haired beauty. Naruto averted his eyes from the document slightly and smiles at his queen. "Yes, I'll have a macchiato, with some caramel," listed Naruto with a thoughtful look. The servant bowed and was about to leave. "Wait, Altair," said Naruto quickly, causing the woman apparently named Altair to stop and look at him expectantly. Naruto stood up and walked around his desk and placed one arm on her shoulder. "Can you call Gabriel and Elfman to my office? I need them for a mission." "Of course, Lord Naruto," said Altair with a bow. However, before she could leave, Naruto placed a kiss on her cheek, causing said girl to blush upon contact. "Thank you, Altair," thanked Naruto with a warm smile, that just caused Altair to blush even more. Any time, Lord Naruto," stuttered Altair slightly, before leaving the room. Chuckling slightly, Naruto went back to his desk and picked up the same document he held previously. At the front of the folder there's a big, bolden stamp that labeled Top Secret. Opening the folder, Naruto scanned the first page, which was labeled on top, Excavation on Mt. St. Helen. The first page just included detail on the excavation that he ordered on the mountain. The reason that it was top secret is because he didn't want the enemy to find out what he was searching for. Not even the four great Satan knew about this. If the angels, especially the fallen angels, found out about this, it could spark the next great war, something he doesn't wish for. That was why he liked the position as chief advisor and treasurer. It allows him almost unlimited access to the government valves to complete his assignment, meaning that he can use it to sponsor anything he so wish, like this excavation project. Before he can continue, the door opened slightly, and the head of Altair appeared. "Lord Naruto, they are here." "Permission to enter?" asked the queen of Naruto. "Permission granted," answered Naruto as he put the document down and focused on the people now in his office. Altair enters first, followed by a tall and muscular young man with long, spiky black hair kept slicked back, revealing his forehead. He has red eyes with slitted dark pupils, and has no visible eyebrows. Most of his exposed body is covered in sets of simple, round studs. The most visible studs are on his face, with 3 of them above each of his eyes, 2 on each side of his nose, and 2 on his chin, just below his mouth. His ears are adorned by 2 sets of 5 earrings each. His attire consisted of a dark-colored tunic with no right sleeve, and a pair of black trousers. Over his clothes, the man wore an expensive-looking red cloak held together in the center by a golden pendant resembling a spiral. On the cloak's right shoulder are a golden variant of the Gremory magical seal. Coming behind him is a large, muscular man with tan-colored skin, whose height causes him to tower over most of people. His long white hair is kept styled upwards in long, wavy spikes. His dark eyes possessed no visible eyebrows, and his rectangular, elongated face had a stitched scar running down its right side, crossing his right eye. His attire consisted of only a pair of brown trousers and the same cloak as the other man, leaving his chest bare. These 2 are Gageo Red Fox and Elfman Strauss, Naruto's rooks, and some of the strongest, physically, devils in the underworld. "Here you go, Lord Naruto," said Altair as she placed his coffee on his desk before moving to stand behind him like she usually does in meetings. "Thank you, Altair." said Naruto with a warm smile before his eyes turned serious and his lips thin, gazing at his rooks, making them unconsciously stand straighter. Gabriel, Elfman, as you already know, I have a special assignment for the two of you, said Naruto as he grabbed the folder he was looking at previously and tossed it at Gabriel. The latter caught it effortlessly. Some of you might already know that 3 years ago I started an excavation project without notifying the four great Satan. The two rooks just nodded. They were informed of this as was the rest of Naruto's peerage. Well, it was 3 years worth of waiting because Dr. Geronimo has finally found the entrance to the burial ground inside MT Street Helen. Your mission is to provide assistance in case there are any traps in there, which I'm sure there will be. When you're done, bring the treasure back to me. Any questions? Asked the red-haired devil after he finished reciting their assignment. Elfman grunted, and Naruto nodded his way. Yes, I was just wondering what the treasure is, asked the giant of a man, receiving a mysterious smile from Naruto. You'll find out when you get it, replied Naruto with a smirk. Any other question? Receiving none, the heir of the House of Gremory threw Elfman a circular device with a screen on the front center. That device will lead you to the location of the excavation site, Naruto answered her unasked question. Now you're dismissed. With that said, the two rooks bowed before exiting the room, leaving the king alone with his queen. Releasing an exhausted sigh, Naruto grabbed his drink and took a sip, hoping that the mission will go on without any problem. If the artifact that he hoped was buried in the volcano got into the wrong hands, it could drastically affect the balance of power between the three fractions, which can be the fuel to spark another great war. That was why the excavation was top secret. Only he and his peerage knows about it. When the workers finish, he'll have to erase their memory too, so no one can trace it back to him. Rubbing his forehead, Naruto couldn't help but feel that there was going to be something stressful coming his way very soon. And not a moment after he thought that, a Gremory magical seal appeared at the center of the room, lighting his office with red light. Naruto couldn't help but mentally groan upon seeing the teleportation matrix. There was only one person who would dare teleport into his office like that. Lil bro! Cried the voice of a certain red-hair Satan. This time, the heir of the Gremory clan did groan in real life. He had enough on his plate today and didn't need a visit from his immature older brother. Sighs of, huffed Naruto as suddenly he was tackled out of his chair, a feeling of something constricting his limb, and the fact that he couldn't breath caused him to grit his teeth in annoyance. His big brother was so immature, especially to his siblings. He actually wished Rias was here right now, so Surzek can glom her instead of him, but that was a bad idea. His immature brother as well as his spoiled sister in the same room with him spell nothing but trouble. Lil bro, I haven't seen you in forever! Cried the strongest of the four great Satan as he proceeded to crush Naruto in his tight embrace. With all his strength, Naruto pried one arm off and somehow managed to pull his brother's head out of his chest. Good, now if someone walked in on them, they wouldn't get the wrong idea. Get off of me, Surzek! Demanded the enraged and embarrassed Naruto as he tried to pry his older brother away from him, but the man wouldn't let go and continued to crush the heir's ribs. No way, lil bro! Exclaimed Surzek as he continued to suffocate his little brother in what he called a sibling hug. We haven't spent any time together in a long time. You're always making excuses. They're not excuses, Surzek. I'm a busy man! Exclaimed Naruto, thrashing around frantically, dropping his mug of coffee, before turning toward the amused Altair desperately. Altair, my dear, please help me. I'll do anything you want. Naruto was desperate right now. Giggling softly, Altair outstretched her right arm. Her eyes was glowing bright purple by now. Arc of time, pause, whispered Altair before everything around her stopped mid-air. The coffee that was falling from Naruto's desk froze midway. The liquid that was spilling out stopped mid-air. Turning toward the now frozen Gremory brother, Altair untangled them and draped one of his arm around her head and placed one hand on his muscular stomach. Her eyes glowed once again. Arc of time, resume, and just like that everything was moving once again. Surzek staggered a bit, and pouted upon seeing that his brother was not with him anymore. He couldn't help but shivered slightly because he was so helpless a moment ago. His brother's queen's power is truly terrifying. To be able to stop him, the greatest of the four great Satan. He involuntarily shivered. Surzek was just glad that she wasn't the enemy and has about zero chances of joining the other side because of her deep infatuation with his younger brother. Damn Naruto, he was always the lady man. Thank Lucifer, Altair, exclaimed Naruto as he took in a deep breath. I could kiss you right now. He was too relieved to pay attention to what he was saying right now, which was one of the reasons why he missed the excited glint that appears in Altair's eyes. Something Surzek did not miss. Then please do Lord Naruto, exclaimed Altair with the biggest smile anyone ever saw on her. Naruto frowned in confusion for a moment before he remembered what he just said, but it was too late now since Altair was very close to him. Her lip puckered up, her eyes staring at him seductively. Gulping mentally and in reality, the red-haired devil tried to take a step back, and soon regretted because his back was now against the wall. He was trapped. Taking in the surrounding, he noticed that in front of him was Altair, walking toward him with the eyes of a hungry predator. To his right was Altair with his arms spread out, clearly expecting Naruto to hug him. There was only one thing he could do in a time like this. Looking at his ceiling, Naruto uttered one word that perfectly describes him right now. Fuck. The underworld, Gremory Estate. What do you need of me, Surzek? Came the voice of a certain spiky red-haired devil. He appeared to be alone, inside one of the many towers surrounding the castle belonging to the Gremory family, overlooking the largest city in the underworld. This was one of, and still is, Naruto's favorite thing to do when he isn't busy and isn't meeting up with his secret girlfriend. Looking at the citizen of the city of Lilith always brought a smile on his face. It was a nice reminder of what he was working so hard to preserve, the joy and happiness of his people. As you might have heard, came the voice of Surzek's Lucifer as he stepped out of the light and stood beside his brother, overlooking the capital of the underworld, at least the devil's half anyway. Unlike his previous childish demeanor, this Satan's face held nothing but complete seriousness, and the air around him practically reeked of power that would send any lesser devils running with their tails between their legs. Naruto, however, isn't one of those devils. Our sister, Rias, has encountered a band of fallen angel, consisting of 4 fallen ones and many rogue exorcists, in her territory, continued Surzek seriously. He was always serious when his family, or those that he values, are put in danger. Supposedly the leader of the group, Rainier, was ordered by Azazel to kill one Issei Hayadu and extract the sacred gear, Twilight Healing, from the former member of the church, Asia Argento. I don't see the point of you telling me all this, Surzek, stated Naruto calmly as he closed his eyes, enjoying the peace up there. So our little runaway decided to engage one of our worst enemies to save some petty human, not caring that it could be the spark that started the Second Great War. He opened his eyes, showing an emotionless pair of glacier blue orbs. Naruto, said the Satan with a certain edge in his voice, one that Naruto paid no heed to. You shouldn't speak so lowly of our little sister. He made sure to emphasize the word sister at the end. The red-hair ambassador just shrugged, not even bothered by how his brother's voice was cold enough to freeze the Sahara Desert. And beside, you shouldn't talk so lowly about those humans. If I remember correctly, Rias made Issei and Asia a part of her peerage. The boy her pawn, and the girl her bishop, informed Surzek. Naruto just clicked his tongue in annoyance, as if he didn't already guess that. He hated his brother for treating him like a child. Even their father doesn't treat him like this anymore. Whatever. It still doesn't justify the fact that she broke into the enemy base during the ceasefire. Wars has started for less, brother, exclaimed Naruto, now with a hint of anger in his voice. He doesn't like the fact that someone related to him can be so stupid, causing violence in non-allied territory, especially since that territory belonged to one of their worst nemesis, was practically the same as declaring war with another fraction, something the devils cannot afford to happen. Their military strength might have been strong enough in the past to hold their own against the warrior of God, but that was when the old Satan were in the driver's seat. During peacetime like this, it was expected for their military to be so lacking, especially since they have someone as lazy as Falbium in charge of their army. Surzek, coming to the same term as Naruto, grimaced slightly. I know what her actions might have caused, but she's still young, and the Satan didn't get to finish relaying his thought because his little brother decided to throw his 1.2 cents. Really, because I don't think she does, or she would have never done it in the first place. Frankly, I don't think you understand the seriousness of the situation, brother, stated Naruto vehemently. His eyes narrowed and a light blue energy glowed around him. Surzek flinched upon hearing the tone of his younger sibling. Naruto only called him brother in social gathering or when he's angry, which in this moment is the latter. If you haven't noticed, our military forces are severely lacking as of right now. Our economy is slowly dropping thanks to the increased number of population that can't feed themselves, angrily exclaimed Naruto as he threw his arm up, all the pent-up aggression slowly getting the better of him. Do you have any idea how much money it takes to sponsor a reincarnated devil, brother? Seeing no answer, he continued his rant. More than we have, that's how much it takes. Naruto almost shouted that comment, not to mention the number of crimes that has gone up because those half-breed decided to kill their master, continued the red-haired devil as Surzek just continued to listen, wincing every so often. I have to deal with these things daily, brother. I don't have the time or patience to stop a war that our sister began because she doesn't know self-control. By the end of it, Naruto was breathing quite heavily, but he was glad that he finally got that off his chest. A moment of silence passed before Surzek walked away from Naruto, his face slightly tilted downward. A red magical seal appeared underneath him as he prepared to teleport away. He felt like he needed to have a small chat with his sister. I'll leave you to yourself, brother. I have something to take care of, stated Surzek as the magical seal underneath him emitted powerful red light, covering him from head to toe and ultimately disappeared, with the Lucifer Satan inside. Naruto didn't even acknowledge his exit as he turned around sharply and stared at the citizens of Lilith, his eyes resting on a certain group of young siblings that consisted of 2 boys, one of which is the older one, and a small girl, clearly the youngest, playing around with each other. His eyes showing hints of fondness and longing before it disappear altogether. United States, Alaska. In the northern part of Alaska lies a 2-story luxurious log cabin with a grand balcony overlooking the sparkling blue lake situated not far from the house. The lake was, of course, frozen right now. A red magical seal appeared near the entrance of the home before disappearing, revealing Naruto still dressed in his business ensemble. Releasing a tired sigh, Naruto walked to the front door and grabbed the handle. A small, red magical seal appeared, surrounding the handle. It glowed briefly before the sound of door unlocking sounded. Not even fazed by that, Naruto walked into the living room, took off his jacket, putting it on the couch. Naruto? Came a delicate voice behind him. A smile appeared on his face as he recognized the owner of that voice. Yes, it is love, said Naruto as he walked towards her and wrapped his arms around her slim waist, inhaling her heavenly aroma. Naruto was a devil, so he was able to see in the dark, so he could clearly see that his beautiful angel was asleep not a moment ago. I'm sorry for waking you up, he apologized, but all Gabriel did was kiss him on the lips, a beautiful smile on her face. It's no problem, I couldn't sleep without you anyway, replied the seraph as she took Naruto's hand and led him to their bedroom. All the way the red-haired devil was smiling. Nighttime was his favorite aspect of the day since he could spend his time with his beautiful Gabriel. The house they were currently on was built by Naruto himself, and surrounding by several layers of sigil, preventing any devils, angels, and other supernatural being from entering and even sensing the place. The only one who can enter are Naruto and Gabriel, and anyone with their blood. Coming into the bedroom, the two got into their usual position with Gabriel snuggled up to her lover's chest and Naruto wrapping his arms around her delicate waist, his head on top of hers. Good night, my angel. Good night, love. Dream sequence. Where am I? Why am I hurt? Who am I? Turning around, all I saw was darkness, a parallel wall of darkness leading toward the light. Am I in an alley? With nothing else to do, the figure walked toward the light, but tripped on his own foot and fell harshly onto the floor. Why can't I move? Looking at his leg, the boy saw that there was a hole on his right foot, like someone stabbed him there. Further examining his body, the boy found out that his shirt, which resembled a rag more than cloth, was torn to shreds, barely covering his tiny frame. The same can be said to his shorts. There was numerous scars and wounds covering his form. The boy looked like he was viciously beaten by a gang of highly trained criminals. All he did was look at himself horrified, and let out a startled gasp, which was hollowed. What happened to me? There he is! Cried a voice, causing the boy to snap his head toward the source, and saw a group of men, about 9 in total, running toward him with various weaponry. The boy didn't know what to do, but his body reacted to the incoming violence by trying to run away, which failed since his leg was hurt beyond repair, so he settled on cropping away. It didn't work. Get him! Cried one of the men, and suddenly the boy felt something pierce one of his arm. Crying in both fear and anger, the boy curled up in a ball, trying to lessen the pain. We got him! Cried yet another voice as the boy felt something kick him in the stomach. Crying out in pain, the boy held his stomach, trying to numb the pain. It was all in vain since he was suddenly assaulted in all directions. Pain exploded in various parts of his body. Immense pain was all he could feel. The sensation of bones breaking and limbs twisting was mind-blowing, and not in a good way. Yes, kill the demon! Exclaimed one of the men hurting him right now. Yeah, kill the demon! Came the cries of the people who are hurting him. The boy could barely focus as pain exploded around him. All he could feel was pain. He could also feel rage slowly building up inside him. Do you want to stop this? Came the loud rumbling sound in his mind. The voice was dark, evil even, and the aura is released felt like the deepest, darkest chasm. Who are you? The boy questioned mentally, a little worried to trust someone. Doesn't matter. I could give you power. Enough to destroy your foe. Do you accept? Pain exploded around him again, burning the hesitation away from the boy. I accept. Good, very good. Dark energy exploded from the boy's body. His dark blue eyes turned crimson red, shadowy substance surrounded his body, waving around menacingly. Darkness gathered around his right arm before it condenses, taking the shape of a pure, galactic black, short scythe with black chains connected to its butt. Wow, what is that? Exclaimed one man as he pointed at the boy, staring at his menacing red eyes with fear. It's witchcraft. Kill the warlock, exclaimed one of the men as he ran toward the boy with his large axe. The boy intercepted with his scythe. The sound of blade meeting blade echoed through the alleyways, causing some of the men to cover their ears from the screeching sound. The man struggled, putting his strength into the axe, trying to chop the boy in half. It was a futile effort because black chains suddenly erupted from his back, penetrate through one of his lungs. Blood erupted from the man's mouth as the strength he put behind his axe waved, giving the boy a perfect opportunity to push the blade away from him using his scythe. With his axe lost somewhere, the man fell onto his knee, holding the place where he was pierced. The hole was dripping copious amounts of blood. Staring at the menacing eyes of the boy he was beating momentarily ago, the man begged. Please. Spare me, rasped the injured man. The boy just stayed still for a moment. The man broke out a smile, thinking that he will be spared. That smile faded when he felt a cut on his neck, then his vision turned black. The other men just watched in shock as a boy, no older than 8, beheaded a full-grown man. You're next, came the hollowed whisper of the boy. Ha ha ha, heaved a sweaty Naruto as he woke up with a start. His whole body, which was nude, was covered in sweat. Opening and closing his eyes, blinking rapidly, Naruto recalled the gruesome dream he just had. A delicate hand suddenly found its way to Naruto's chest, calming him slightly. Nightmare? Came the concerned voice of his beloved angel. Her face held nothing but concern for her love. It wasn't the first time this happened. It's nothing to worry about, Gabriel, replied Naruto softly, still looking at his clenched hand. The dream was so real, so vivid, so familiar. This is the third night that this has happened, dear. I'm worried about you. She wanted nothing more than to take that pain away. It was the least she can do for all he has done for her. Don't. Naruto turned and smiled at Gabriel, who returned a half-hearted one. I'm fine, my love, it's just a dream. Nothing less, nothing more. Wrapping his arm around her slim waist, Naruto pulled her into him and kissed her softly on the lips, bringing a smile to her face. He then scooped her up and placed her on the bed delicately, slipping himself next to her. Not a moment later, Gabriel flipped herself on top of him, straddling his waist, giving Naruto a clear view of her very bountiful, very firm, and also very nude pair of tits. They were nude because they were enjoying their favorite pastime together 2 hours ago. A sexy smile appears on Gabriel's face as she inches toward Naruto's ear. But I couldn't sleep, dear, she whispered seductively, fanning the ever-growing lust building inside of him. I have a certain itch, that only you can take care of. That was the nail that broke the dam. Before Gabriel knows it, she was suddenly pinned to their bed, her arms bounded together by Naruto's arm. Said person was now hovering above her, his other arm trailing past her slim waist, trailing all of her curves before grabbing a fistful of her firm buttock. Well, I guess we have to fix that, won't we? Whispered the red-haired devil as he slowly nibbled on his angel's sweat neck. All Gabriel could do was moan and writhe around in the pleasure her beloved was giving her. Opening her eyes, Gabriel stared at Naruto's pair of orbs with nothing but love. That was how she was able to prevent herself from falling from grace while doing intercourse. When they are making love, all she felt was just that, love, and there was nothing the angels valued more than their loved one. Leaning up, Gabriel engaged Naruto in a fierce, yet loving kiss, nibbling at the bottom of his lip until he finally opened up. While they were doing this, Naruto couldn't help but feel like he forgot to do something. Oh well, if he forgets something, then that just means that it wasn't important. Human realm, United States of America, Mount St. Helen. I hate you, Lord Naruto, muttered Gabriel as he and the big brute, Elfman, was currently inside a cave with no light source whatsoever. But that wasn't the problem. Devils can see perfectly fine in the dark. No, the problem was that they couldn't move anywhere thanks to the damn devil's trap above them. You see, devil's trap are a set of Enochian sigil placed in certain arrays, usually circular, that are designed to, like its name suggests, trap devils, and all demonic creatures. Once the devils is inside, they couldn't escape or use their power. The only way to get out was have outside party alter have destroyed the trap. Gabriel cursed again. This was supposed to be a simple mission. He and Elfman were just supposed to meet up with the scientist, Dr. Geronimo, get the map from him, navigate through the endless dark chasm, and collect the item inside. They managed to accomplish 2 out of the 4 things, but once they entered the dark cave, the entrance was blocked by some giant boulder. They were about to destroy the boulder when they found out that they couldn't move their body. It turns out that there was a giant devil's trap above them. Gabriel couldn't help but wonder what the item inside here was. He hadn't seen a devil's trap in person, but his master had informed them about what it looked like and how to sense them. At first, Gabriel did feel some angelic energy, but quickly dismissed it since he assumed whatever they were looking for must have been related to heaven. He cursed himself for his stupidity. Damn! How are we supposed to get out now? This is all your fault, Elfman, exclaimed the frustrated devil as he glared at Elfman, which wasn't a good idea because said man towered over him. My fault? How can this possibly be my fault? Yelled back the behemoth. If you haven't dismissed the worker early, they might have gotten us out right now, exclaimed Gabriel as he glared at the now innocent-looking Elfman. It was true, Elfman did dismiss the other worker, claiming that they were manly enough to do this job by themselves. Now, let's not get into a fight and try to find a way out of this mess, offered Elfman as he took in their surroundings, which was nothing but rocks and dirt. Gabriel's face reddened and he was about to explode but was interrupted by the former. I just got a manly idea, Gabriel, exclaimed Elfman excitedly. He put all his strength into his right fist and retracted, then in a split second, slammed the fist down on the floor, causing cracks to form and rocks breaking it down into pieces. Picking up the fragments, Elfman looked at his partner expectantly, realization drawn on Gabriel as his face turned horrified. Oh no, no way in hell, Elfman, exclaimed Gabriel indecently, trying to get away from him, but he couldn't go far due to the devil trap. Do you want to get out of here or not? Fine, huffed the raven-haired devil as he picked some rocks up, while muttering, I hate you, Lord Naruto. Time skip. 2 days, the Underworld, Elder Summit. The Underworld was a very big place, almost as big as the human realm, so in order to keep peace and order, a strong government was needed. Most of the devil populace knows that the highest social rank ones can get is the title of Satan, which was mostly true. Even though the Satans had the highest ranking and doesn't have to answer to anyone else, they do, however, have to report to the Elder Council when they are going to do something big, like starting a war or making allies. The Elder Council was a political system which held almost the same duty as the Supreme Court of the United States, but with a 32-judge system, one for each of the remaining 32 pillars. Originally, the purpose of the Elder Council was to settle disagreements between clans or individuals. They were also the one who delivered the punishment to the criminals such as stray devils. Sometimes the Elder Council is formed when a big crisis appears, to discuss what to do next with the 4 Satans, which was what they are doing right now. Inside a large, medieval-looking tower made from netherstone were the 32 elders. The room they were in was completely dark, with 32 thrones set in a circular pattern. Behind the 32 throne are 4 more thrones, but they are more ornate and royal-looking. There was no light, since devils are able to see in the dark just fine. Each of the smaller thrones sat the elders of the remaining 32 founding devil clan, all of whom have a serious expression on. Behind them are the 4 great Satan, Cerzex Lucifer, Seraphol Leviathan, Ajuka Beelzebub, and Falbium Asmodeus. Unlike the serious-looking elders, the emotions shown between the 4 Satans varied. Cerzex Lucifer, a red-haired man dressed in his usual armor, was, not surprisingly, acting like an idiot, whispering jokes at Seraphol, who giggled in response. Seraphol Leviathan, a woman with a childlike body and chest too big for someone of her appearance, was twirling her staff while occasionally giggled at Cerzek's joke. Ajuka Beelzebub, a man with lime green hair, was the only Satan taking this meeting seriously. His face are void of emotion except the small amount of embarrassment that seems to slip in whenever Seraphol was acting immature, which was all the time. The last person of the group is Falbium Asmodeus, who was currently sleeping. Kneeling at the center, facing the 4 Satans, was Naruto Gremory. Enough! Came the loud, booming voice of Ajuka, causing Cerzex and Seraphol to freeze and Falbium to wake up. Massaging his forehead with one hand, the Satan continued. We are here discussing important business. Will you guys act mature for once? Ajuka all but commanded. The situation was dire, and if they don't do anything soon, the end of devilkind might become inevitable. Why are we even here, Ajuka? Asked Cerzek as he leaned against his throne, a childlike smile plastered on his face. You didn't tell me what the meeting was about. Ajuka just groaned into his hand. Of course he didn't tell Cerzek what the meeting was about. He was too busy carrying said man from his house because the young Lucifer didn't want to attend an boring-ass meeting with a bunch of senile old men. This meeting was called in because of the action of your sister, Lord Lucifer, came the voice of one of the elders, this one belonging to the Phoenix clan. That comment caught Cerzek off guard, and everyone could tell because his face hardened slightly. What? Came the sharp and questioning tone of the strongest Satan. The Phoenix's elder flinched slightly because that question was directed to him. Knowing that the Phoenix wasn't going to say anything more, Ajuka coughed into his hand, returning everyone's attention back to him. He pulled out a manila folder and began to skim through it. According to our intel, began Ajuka, stopping on a certain page. Just 5 days ago, one Rias Gremory along with her peerage entered the fallen angels' territory uninvited, and proceed to murder a total of 4 fallen angels, 47 rogue exorcists. He then flipped 2 pages and stopped. The fallen angels' leader, Azazel, demanded her head and ready to Ajuka, pausing mid-sentence, most of the devils in the room to send him questioning glanced. Coughing slightly, Ajuka continued, albeit a little red dusting his cheeks. Azazel demanded Rias's head to be sent in a gift box, along with the rest of her tight, young body, carried to his castle by a swimsuit-wearing Graphia. The comment caused most of the elder to either drool at the thought of a scantily clad Graphia or feel disturbed by what the leader of one of the strongest supernatural fractions wanted. Cerzek's face was now matching his hair. He didn't know whether to angry by the request or laugh because it was funny, and judging by the giggling Seraphol, he guessed that she thought it was funny too, or emphasized Ajuka, catching everyone's attention. Spend a day fishing with Naruto Gremory for compensation. It wasn't really a difficult decision to make. Okay. I think it obvious which one we are going to choose. He received a collective nod from all the elders. Knowing which course of action to take, Ajuka addressed one more thing. We may have found the solution to avoid conflict with the fallen angels, but there are still problems with the angels fraction, commented the green-haired Satan, getting a confused look from everyone else in the room except Naruto, who was the one to wrote the report so he knew the content. What do you mean, Lord Beelzebub? Asked the elder of the Vasego clan. Why is the angels fraction involved in this? I thought it was just us and the fallen ones. Yes, that would be the case, agreed Ajuka with a nod before looking straight at the Vasego elder. If fallen angels were the only victim of Rias' stupidity, the comment caused quite a few devils to look at the Satan, confused, except Cerzek, who glared at his best friend. You see, fellow devils, not only did Rias Gremory enter enemy territory and murder the occupants, she also reincarnated a holy maiden into her bishop. Several people gasped at that. This is considered to be a great offense to the angels fraction, and even though they haven't pressed charges yet, it doesn't mean they are not going to. We have to do something to appease the angels, said Ajuka, looking around the room. Any ideas? A moment of silence passed, no one said a thing. I propose, came the voice of the elder of the Aman clan, catching everyone's attention. That we send someone there. To heaven. Negotiate with the Archangel, Michael, to see if we can solve this issue peacefully. Ajuka thought about the idea. Frankly, it wasn't that bad. However, before he can say anything, another elder interrupted. That's not a bad idea, stated the elder of the Marcosius clan, stroking his beard. But who would do something so risky? We're talking about entering heaven, the home of him, and command center to all holy creatures. No one will volunteer. I volunteer, came the strong voice of Naruto Gremory, still kneeling on his knee, catching everyone's attention. Young Gremory, are you sure? Came the concerned voice of the elder of the Citri clan. You already have to deal with Azazel, there would be no need to burden you anymore. We can Alwa. This problem was caused by Rias Gremory, interrupted Naruto, now standing tall, facing the Citri elder, whose chair was next to those of the four Satan. A Gremory should be the one who solve it. No said anything, just thinking about the idea. Most of them thought it was justified. A sister caused the problem, so it was the duty of a brother to fix it. Alright, if that's how you truly feel, stated Ajuka looking at Naruto's determined face, before looking around the room once more. Let's put it onto a vote. Who agree that Naruto Gremory should go to heaven and negotiate with Michael? Many magical seals of various designs pop out in front of the elders, signaling their agreement. They all thought that having their ambassador work out the problem with the enemy was a good idea. It was his job anyway. Well then we came to an agreement. Naruto Gremory, you are dismissed. Go prepare for your expedition. Naruto nodded and a red magical seal appeared underneath him, teleporting him out of the council room. Now that that problem is solved, we move on to the disagreement between allies' forces. And so the council move on to another topic to discuss, not noticing the disappearance of a certain mischievous Satan. The underworld, outside Elder Summit. Naruto was currently walking out of the Elder Summit. He could have teleported to the Gremory Castle in the first place, but wanting some time to think of what to do. I mean, you couldn't just go into your enemy territory without a gift. His trip to the Fallen Angels base would not be much of a problem. He knew Azazel on a personal level, so he could just teleport there. The strange request was just probably an excuse for him to see Naruto again. It wasn't like it was the first time that this happened. Now going into heaven was another story entirely. Most of the populace hate his gut, which was totally unjustified. Sure, he may have killed the Archangel Metatron during the last Great War, but hey, he needed a way to learn Enochian, the ancient language of holy creature. It wasn't his fault the Archangel wouldn't teach it to him easily. So he had to get creative, which was another word for torture. Yeah, that was back when he was still a selfish asshole. Which was another reason why he cherished Gabriel so much. It wasn't easy to convince a girl to date you when you mutilated then killed her brother with his own sword, but he did it. It wasn't easy, but he still did it. So it would be a wise idea to bring Michael a gift of some sort. It would at least calm down the angels, no matter how small it might be. What are you thinking, Naruto? Came the familiar, childish voice of a certain Satan. Snapping out of his thought, Naruto turned around and spot Seraphal in her magical girl outfit, networking her staff. What do you want, Seraphal? Demanded Naruto, having no time for her right now. The only female Satan just pouted, something that looked adorable when combined with her childish body. Naruto still mad at me for what happened last Christmas? Asked the innocent-looking Seraphal, too innocent perhaps. Naruto's eyebrows twitched uncontrollably. He still didn't forgive her for what she did to him. Last Christmas he, along with his family, which unfortunately included Surzek and Rias, attended a Christmas party hosted by Lord and Lady Citri. Somehow during the party he managed to get drunk, which was weird because he could handle his liquor, and Seraphal managed to seduce him, successfully. Naruto didn't remember what happened that night, but the next morning he woke up with a naked Satan sleeping peacefully on his chest. That wasn't even the worst of it. Their parents apparently caught them in the act that night, and let's just say that he now has a huge scar on his chest from where Lord Citri attacked him. Luckily the news wasn't made public because Seraphal admitted that she did seduce him, even though she also said he didn't seem to mind. After that whole debacle they were invited to the Citri home for dinner as an apology for attacking him without knowing what happened. The dinner was complete hell, which was ironic since he technically lived in one, because his mother, Lady Gremory, and Lady Citri keep going at it on how they look perfect together, and suggesting that he marry her, much to his ire and Seraphal's secret joy. Don't mention that in public, Seraphal. Snapped a red-faced Naruto. He was extremely embarrassed that he can be so easily manipulated by the female body, which would explain why he bought 5 malls in the US even though he doesn't have that much clothes. Gabriel sure can be sexy when she wants something. Shaking his head out of the unnecessary, yet erotic thought, Naruto focused his attention toward the grinning Satan in front of him. Aren't you supposed to be in a meeting right now? He inquired. The meeting was boring, so I decided to follow you instead. Isn't it amazing? Exclaimed Seraphal excitedly as she did a twirl. The action caused her very short skirt to flutter, giving Naruto a great view of her white panties. Naruto just stared at her blankly. I'll ask you again, what do you want, Seraphal? Repeated the Gremory heir slowly. All Seraphal did was smile at him innocently, but unlike the usual smile, this one held no mischief. Why, a date with you, of course. Human realm, United States of America, Mount St. Helen. When will it ever end? Exclaimed the irritated Gabriel as he jumped over a rock monster with 4 arms and 3 pebbles for eyes. Iron Dragon's Lance, Demon's Log. A magical seal appeared around his forearm as his entire right arm transformed into iron with a spear point. With a battle cry, Gabriel penetrated through the stone golem, causing it to explode into a pile of rubble. Using the momentum, the Iron Dragon Slayer swung the spear 180 degrees, destroying 3 more golem in the process. Swatting the exploding rocks out of the way, Gabriel took a deep breath. It took them a day to get out of the devil trap, another half a day to travel through the cave and finally found an entrance to possibly the area where the artifact their master want them to collect is. But luck was definitely not on their side. because once Elfman's hand touched the door, or he hoped it was a door since it was just a giant segmented rock that was emitting large magical energy, hundreds of stone golem popped out and attacked them. Gabriel doesn't even know what time it is right now. All he wanted was to get out of this Lucifer-forsaken cave. Something impacted him on the back, sending him across the rocky field. Growling loudly, Gabriel glared at the stone golem that punched him. He must be getting out of shape, letting a pile of rocks attack him like that. That's what peacetime will do a soldier. Before he can get his revenge, however, the golem shattered into pieces, Elfman standing behind it. Releasing an earth-shattering roar, Elfman released his magical energy, which was so immense that the 5-stone golem that was surrounding him started to crack. A red magical seal appeared underneath the devil as his skin started to transform. Full body take over, Lycaon! Exclaimed Elfman as his body was suddenly surrounded by metallic, gray fur, his nose elongated, becoming more like a canine snout, and his nails, sharpened, becoming claws. Releasing another roar, this one more horrifying than the previous, showing his enlarged canines, the stone golem surrounding him shattered into tiny fragments. You're getting less manly, Gabriel! Exclaimed Elfman as he sliced the air in front of him, shooting compressed air into one of the few remaining golem, causing it to explode like the rest of its comrades. Gabriel just glared at Elfman. It was very embarrassing to be saved by one of his teammate. Back in the old days, the Dragon Slayer used to be the third strongest devil, the only one that could destroy him were his king, and the 4 great Satan. Now, he bet that Altair and Ragnar could easily take him too. Releasing a growl, Gabriel caught the incoming fist of a foolish stone golem that thought it was a good idea to attack him when he was angry. With great strength, Gabriel pulled the golem forward, causing it to stumble and fall while he managed to get on his feet, his hands still clenched on the animated rocks first. Shut up, Elfman! Shouted the enraged Dragon Slayer, as iron scales started to appear around his body, becoming his second skin of some sort. A metallic green aura surrounded him as he glared at the golem which was trying to get out of his grip. It was all for naught when Gabriel's fist was slammed against its round head, cracking it. The golem landed on its knee before slowly disintegrating. Turning around, he saw that Elfman was now looking at him with a stupid grin on his face while the other golems was just standing there, apparently shocked from witnessing the sight of its destroyed brother. The thought was weird for Gabriel to take in. He thought golem were just animated object. He didn't know they were capable of emotion, but that doesn't matter right now. His eyes narrowed at the species that made a fool out of him, in front of his comrade no less. They deserve a painful death, even though they aren't technically alive. Step aside, Elfman, I'll take care of this, he commanded. Elfman just chuckled, seeing the familiar maniacal glint in the old devil's eyes. It seems that the famed Dragon Slayer was back. Metallic green smoke started to ooze out of Gabriel like poisonous gases, which is what it was. As he took a step forward, his arm outstretched, a giant magical seal appeared underneath the remaining dozen or so golems, trapping them. A smaller version of the seal appeared underneath Gabriel. Iron Dragon, started Gabriel as 2 smaller magical circles hovered in front of his outstretched hands. Pure black iron appeared out of an outline seal, coming up halfway. Secret art. The iron connected to each other, forming a huge dome of pure iron, trapping the remaining golem inside. Hell Colosseum. With that said, 4 gigantic metal rods appear on the 4 corners of the dome. The base of the iron rods open, inhaling in a large quantity of air before closing itself. The sizzling sound of fire and object being melted was emitted from the dome. After a few minutes, Gabriel released the technique, causing the iron to sink back into the ground, leaving nothing more than a burned rocky floor. Elfman released another chuckle when he saw Gabriel fall down on his knees. The scales around his body disappeared along with his green aura. Sweat was covering his body now as said man tried to take as much air into his lung as possible. That technique was definitely deadly, but it also exhausted the user. Even though all the stone golem are now gone and they can safely access the door, Elfman was a little disappointed at Gabriel. Back in the old days, Gabriel could use that technique more often without feeling fatigued. It seems that he had really gone weaker after the war ended. Releasing his magic, Elfman's body turned back to normal, his cloak still intact, because of the sheer durability of the fabric used to make it. Walking toward the kneeling Gabriel, he held out his hand. The Dragon Slayer took it and was lifted toward his feet, Elfman helping him walk by putting one of Gabriel's arm over his shoulder. You've gotten heavier, commented the beast of a man. Shut up, growled Gabriel with no real venom as they walked toward the door. Golden light flashed out of the segmented rock, engulfing the two into it. When the light disappeared, the 2 devils were nowhere to be found. The underworld, Lilith City, Satanic Cafe. Very much like the human realm, the underworld has many cities, and like those of human, there are cities that soar higher than the others, and there are no city more popular than Lilith City. Lilith City was named after the first demonic being that was ever created in all of creation, be the archangel turned devil Lucifer. Not only is it a historical site, a place that Lucifer claimed after defeating Hades, the Lord of the Dead, and turning it into his kingdom, the city of Lilith also served as a tourist attraction. All demonic creatures, as well as allies of the devils, were welcome to come and enjoy all the city has to offer and stay as long as they wish. It was quite a common occurrence to see various gods or goddesses walking around the streets, enjoying a break from their work. Sitting on one of the outdoor cafes was one Naruto Gremory, taking a sip from his tea, while amusing himself by watching a female kitsune and the Mayan goddess Agna fighting for an original pair of purses while the devil salesman was looking on nervously. What male wouldn't get nervous when a goddess of sexuality and a drop-dead fox girl fighting are in front of him? It was practically every guy's wet dream becoming reality. Naruto, came the voice to his left. Turning around from the amusing sight, Naruto came face to face with the pouting Serafal. Why are you ignoring me, Naruto? We are on a date, remember? Releasing a sigh, Naruto took another sip from his drink. The only reason he agreed to have a drink with Serafal was because she supposedly knew a way to get into heaven without getting ambushed, or worse, raped. You see, the entrance to heaven was very close to the entrance to Asgard, so it wasn't that difficult to find Valkyrie around the place, guarding the gate that lead to their home. The reason he was so scared of getting raped by Valkyrie because during the Great War, Naruto wasn't exactly the compassionate guy that will do anything for his loved ones. Back in those days, he was considered the true devil because he was the definition on how a devil needed to behave. A dark creature that would destroy anything that got in his way, and a lustful animal that couldn't be satisfied with only one partner. At first Naruto didn't want to get involved in a war he doesn't care about, so his good friend Thor let him stay with him in Valhalla. It was actually a nice month up there. Unlike heaven, Valhalla's sky wasn't just pure light. It was actually very romantic, beautiful sky, not to mention being there boosted his power tremendously. That wasn't the point though, the point that during his 1 month stayed in the realm of the Norse god, Naruto bedded about 30 Valkyrie. The problem wasn't that the god was mad at him for tainting their virgin soldiers. No, the problem was that Valkyries became obsessed with him after the whole debacle. Sometime while passing by the area, he would wake up one morning with a Valkyrie in his bed with no memory of the night's events whatsoever. While it may be pleasurable, it can become a huge problem later on. Naruto was just glad that he didn't have a daughter with any Valkyrie, at least to his knowledge. This isn't a date, Serafal, stated Naruto sternly before he put his drink down. Closing his eyes, the red-haired devil leaned back against his ornate chair. The only reason why I'm here is because you have the information I seek. If Naruto's eyes were open he would have saw that his word had hurt her greatly. Serafal was quite upset that the only reason he was willing to go on a date with her was because he was forced to. She released a silent sigh. It was not like she didn't expect this. No one could ever make Naruto open up, nor make him smile and do thing other than work, at least not to her knowledge. He was the complete opposite of Surzek. So, the voice of Naruto caused her to snap out of her thought. Looking at him, she noticed that he was currently looking into her eyes intently, causing a light blush to adorn her cheek. So what? Asked the female Satan, too lost in his beautiful sapphire orbs to think straight. His gaze was one of a predator stalking its prey, one of pure strength and dominance. Her demonic instinct told her to submit, and do whatever he told her in order to survive, something she would gladly do for him. The thought of Naruto dominating her caused her face to redden even more. It was now almost the same color as her secret crush hair. You said you have a spell or something that can get me to heaven unscratched, stated Naruto monotony. What is the spell? Serafal moved around in her seat nervously. His gaze was so intense it made her nervous. Well, said the Satan nervously, trying and failing to stop fidgeting in her seat. It isn't a spell per se, it's more like an artifact. An artifact, huh? Muttered Naruto in thought as he took another sip from his drink. His mind automatically searched in his database for an artifact that can do something like that. He doesn't have anything like that, and it just make him want the item even more. Serafal smiled as she saw Naruto trying to think of what she had in her disposition that can safely transported him to heaven. She knew that Naruto was very interested in ancient artifacts, almost as much as he is interested in gaining power. Not many people know this, but during the Great War Naruto and Serafal was quite close, doing many missions and fighting in many of the battles together. They were practically inseparable, and Serafal enjoyed every moment, especially during the night when they released their inner demons. Even though he made it clear that it was nothing but pure carnal sex, and there was nothing between them, Serafal couldn't help but fall in love with him, with the hero that saved her numerous times during the course of the war. So, what kind of artifact can let me get into heaven safely? Inquired the red-haired devil, breaking Serafal from her train of thought again. Well, it's not really an artifact, stretched Serafal as she brought out her hand. A golden light emitted from her palm before disappearing, revealing a golden apple the size of her hand. This, Naruto, is the golden apple from the Garden of Hysteria, and it could guarantee safe passage to heaven. Human realm, United States of America, Mount St. Helen. Is that it? Questioned Elfman as he looked at the stone tablet currently situated at the altar, in the center of the room. The light apparently took them to a room where the artifact their master sent them to get was in. He just doesn't know what it was since Lord Naruto never gave them any information. Just that it was obvious when they see it. He felt a sharp pain flashes on his head, causing him to wince slightly. Isn't it obvious, dumbass? It's the only thing in the room, exclaimed Gabriel angrily. Fine, whatever, Elfman muttered as he moved closer to the object, opening his palm. Crimson magical energy gathered there, swirling around in the shape of a sphere. It suddenly took the shape of a chest, with golden lock. Okay, here goes nothing, he said as he drew closer, taking careful step toward the ancient relic. Gabriel watched in the sideline in silent anticipation, his body tense, ready to strike if a trap activate. Sweat fell down the white-haired devil as his hand drew closer to the object. With a deep breath, Elfman grabbed the tablet, looking around the room anxiously. From the corner of his eyes Elfman could see Gabriel looking around expectantly. After a minute of looking around for a trap activate, they finally settled down. "Is that it?" asked Gabriel, still worried that a trap will activate. "I guess this is it," answered the enormous devil as he placed the tablet carefully inside the chest before channeling his magical energy into the lock, locking it. With a silent incantation, the chest disappeared into thin air. "This is it, aren't there going to be traps?" His paranoia is very reasonable because ever since they entered the cave nothing but bad things had happened. "I guess not. Let's get out of here before anything can happen, okay?" Gabriel nodded before channeling his magical energy into the floor. A large, red magical seal appears underneath the two devils. In a flash of red, the two disappear, completely missing the black wisp coming off of the altar. Time skip. 2 weeks. Human realm, Co-town, Co-academy, old school building. At 11 a.m. in the evening, almost everybody left the school. There were only 4 signatures in the school ground right now, and they're all coming from the same location. The old school building. The old school building, like its name suggests, was the place where they used to teach, but now it was transformed into a place that the Occult Research Club resided in. That was, of course, what the public was aware of. In truth, the Occult Research Club was nothing more than a cover for the devils, a place where one Rias and her peerage used to conduct supernatural activity. But right now, it was used as a meeting spot between 2 kings. Inside the old school building are 2 royal-looking sofas, situated opposite of each other. An ornate desk was stationed between the 2 furniture, but that didn't really matter right now. What matter are the people sitting on the sofas. To the right is a beautiful girl with long, crimson, red threads cascading down her shoulder, wearing the standard Co-academy school garment, which did nothing to hide her generous buxom. This person is Rias, the youngest sibling born to Lord and Lady Gremery. Behind her stood another beautiful girl with long, raven hair that was tied with an orange ribbon, reaching her heels in length. Her outfit was the same as Rias's. This person is Akino Himejima, the queen, as well as best friend of Rias Gremery. In front of them is Sirzex Lucifer and a beautiful, young-looking, silver-haired lady, dressed in a traditional maid outfit. Her name is Graphia Lucifuge, queen of Sirzex Lucifer as well as his wife. She is also one of the last remaining devil from the house of Lucifuge. The atmosphere in the room was tense, very much so. Sirzex was actually here to talk to his sister on the problems she was causing by entering the fallen angel territory without the other party's consent. But surprise, when he got here, his wife, Graphia, informed him that his sister, Rias, tried to get out of the marriage the easy way, which was to lose her virginity to another man. The thought that his sister was willing to do something like this was so embarrassing. Now he was beginning to understand why Naruto doesn't like Rias so much. "Brother," called Rias, trying to break the silence. She was feeling uncomfortable with this. Her usual silly and always smiling brother was replaced by this cold and emotionless warrior. Now that she thought about it, when Sirzex acts serious, he kind of looked like her other brother. The thought sent shiver down her spine. She would rather have the annoying Sirzex over the nonchalant one. She doesn't need another Naruto to tell her what to do. "Why are you here, brother? Don't you have more important thing to do?" asked Rias. It was the polite thing to say and could break the tense atmosphere, something she needed right now. "Yes, I do actually," replied Sirzex nonchalantly with a shrug. "So, why did you decide to pay me a visit?" asked Rias, wanting her brother to elaborate on why he was here. Her answer was for her brother to stare straight into her eyes, almost causing her to flinch because of how empty it looked. Usually her brother, Sirzex's eyes held nothing more than childish innocence and amusement. Now, however, it was empty, like her other brothers. She could have already guessed that Graphia has informed Sirzex of what she almost did half an hour ago. "This isn't a social call if that's what you want to know," informed Sirzex coldly, causing Rias to visibly flinch. "Originally I was here to investigate, yes that's the word, investigate on a certain incident that occurred several weeks ago." Rias froze as she remembered what happened 2 weeks ago. Realization crossed her. Her face looked horrified for a second before she quickly schooled her features. From the corner of her eyes, Rias could see the same thing happen to her queen. "Brother, what happened several weeks ago was not our fault. The fallen angels took." Rias tried to explain to her brother, but before she could finish, Sirzex interrupted her. "Yes, the fallen angel captured one Asia Argento," stated Sirzex impassively as a crimson manila folder appeared on his arm from thin air. "A human girl who is also a nun. She's a part of my peerage," exclaimed the crimson-haired beauty, slightly raising her voice. She also rose to her feet. "Not during the time of the incident," he countered with a slightly raised voice also, before calming down. "Rias, you have to understand that what you did was completely dangerous," stated Sirzex, his face void of emotion. "Now sit down." Knowing that it was an order, Rias has no choice but to oblige. "Not only did you, along with your peerage, enter the church run by fallen angels, you also killed all 4 of them along with several rogue exorcists. And for what exactly? To rescue a maiden of the church?" stated Sirzex, listing everything that she did without sugarcoating anything. Rias flinched at his cold tone before a confident look appeared on her face. "They were in my territory, so I have the rights to. She was interrupted yet again. You have the rights to nothing. The emotionless mask Surzek has unshattered, revealing his true nature. One of rage and disappointed of what his sister did. Rias's eyes widened and her mouth shut. This was the first time Surzek ever yelled at her. Most time he just informed her nicely or acted like it didn't matter. The abandoned church is fallen angels' territory, and you entered it uninvited. You also killed 4 members of the faction to rescue a girl belonging to the angels faction. Do you have any idea what that meant? That is practically a declaration of war, exclaimed the now standing Surzek calmly with a cold edge. By now, Rias was looking down on her hand, wanting nothing more than to avoid this discussion and too afraid to look up at her brother, especially since she sensed that he was looking at her right now. Beside her Aquino was looking at her, King, worryingly. Grafia was also looking worried, but not at Rias. She was looking at Surzek worryingly because he was pacing around right now. The calm aura that usually surround him was gone. Do you have any idea how difficult it is for me and your brother to fix your mistake? Demanded Surzek, still pacing. He continued upon seeing Rias shaking her head slightly, which was hard to notice since her whole body was shaking. Of course you don't, he muttered, but everyone in the room heard him, causing Rias to flinch again. Your brother, Naruto, has to travel to the other side of the underworld and fly to heaven to apologize on behalf of you. Do you know how embarrassing that is for him? For our kind? Surzek shook his head in shame before continuing. Well, for your information, it was very difficult, especially for Naruto. He was a proud warrior that commanded the famous Battalion Dynasty, a squad that changes the courses of the Great War into our favor. Rias couldn't help but feel ashamed of herself for causing her family so much pain. She knew it was very hard for Naruto to swallow his pride and do something like that was mind-numbing. You know, the elders wanted to send them your head instead, stated the Satan with a shrug, causing Rias and Aquino to stare at him terrified. Surzek saw their expression and couldn't help but laugh mentally. Of course the only reason why they didn't do that was because Naruto volunteered to carry out your punishment instead. Rias looked even more ashamed of herself now. She knew that her brothers must have hated her because of what she did. I'm sorry, whispered the crimson-haired beauty, tears flowing down her face. I'm sorry for causing you so much problems. She suddenly broke down there, tears flowing freely out of her eyes, drenching her outfit. Not that she cared about that anymore. Aquino walked toward her, King, and comforted her. It didn't work. Surzek released a tired sigh, running one of his hands through his crimson locks, before looking down on her emotional distressed sister. Look, I'm not mad at you, Rias. I'm just disappointed that you would do something that would jeopardize our kind. Surzek tried to comfort his sister, but according to her flinching, he guessed that he failed. Surzek turned around, his back facing her, his face turned slightly. Just remember. Don't do these kind of thing ever again, because the next time, you'll have to face the consequences by yourself, warned Surzek as he held one arm up, and was about to snap his finger but paused midway. Oh, don't think I didn't know what happened tonight, stated the crimson-haired Satan. Like I said before, don't do it again. This is your final warning. With that said, he snapped his finger. The sound echoed around the room as he disappeared into thin air. Grafia stepped up and bowed. I'll take my leave as well, Lady Rias, said Grafia as a red magical seal appeared under her. It glowed brightly before disappearing with the queen in it, leaving Rias alone with her queen, the former still crying her eyes out, while the latter tried to comfort her. Human realm, United State, Alaska, dusk, moaned out Naruto in bliss as his beloved angel gave him one hell of a massage. They were currently in their indoor hot tub, enjoying a nice, warm dip, which Naruto was enjoying immensely, not only because he finally had time to relax from the recent debacle between the 3 faction, but because Gabriel was with him, in nothing more than a skimpy 2ps cream bikini, which was the same color as her skin, enhancing her already divine beauty. Have I ever tell you how much I love you, Gabriel, said Naruto hoarsely. He was feeling so relaxed right now. Gabriel giggled into her hand as she continued to massage him. She loved the fact that she was the only one who could make him feel like this. Even his queen couldn't make him feel this good. It was such a great feeling for her. This reminded him of what happened 2 weeks ago, except their position was reversed. Lord Naruto, came the all too familiar, feminine voice. Groaning softly, Naruto pulled away from his angel and sent her an apologetic look. In turn she just smiled sweetly at him. That was why he loved Gabriel so much. She was so understanding to him, always thinking positively about him and never once doubting his decisions, something that can be said about Naruto's feelings for her. Releasing a mute sigh, Naruto put his right index and middle finger to his ear. A red magical seal of the Gremry clan suddenly appeared between his fingers and ears. Yes, what is it, Altair? Asked Naruto, trying and failing to keep the venom from seeping through his voice. He had a pretty busy week and want nothing more than some relaxation time with his girlfriend. Lord Naruto, Elfman and Gabriel has just arrived in the underworld. They said the retrieval mission was a success, reported the Time Devil, either not caring or heard his tone, probably the former. 1,000-watt smile appeared on Naruto's face at the thought. He haven't heard anything from his 2 rooks for weeks now and was quite worried, but he knew that they could handle the mission by themselves. That's great news, Altair! Exclaimed Naruto excitedly. As he stood up and got out of the hot tub, from the corner of his eyes, he could see Gabriel doing the same thing. A small frown on her face. "Tell them to bring the package to my office tomorrow," stated Naruto, still looking at his love, who was now staring at him in shock. She knew how much this artifact meant to him, and couldn't help but wonder why he would put it on delayed. "I got something important to do right now." With that said, the magical seal disappeared from his hand. He turned to look at Gabriel, who was looking at him curiously, with a smile. "What?" Gabriel just continued looking at him with the same blank expression. "Naruto, I know how much that artifact meant to you. Why aren't you going to your office to see it right now?" asked the blonde hair angel, confused at her lover's decision. Naruto just gave her a smile before pulling his love to him, moving to submerge half of their bodies into the warm water. She didn't resist at all. "The relic can wait, but after everything that happened last week, I want to spend as much time with you," muttered Naruto huskily as he nibbled on her delicate neck, making her release that melodious moans of hers that he just adored. "With all of you." His eyes darken, nothing but love and lust can be seen in his sapphire orbs. Gabriel shivered as she saw that and released a pleasurable sigh as he continued to ravish her neck before consuming her lips, his hand trailing along her curve, resting on her rear. That night, the infamous devil of hell and the angels of heaven did something that would be considered taboo for their respective fraction, but they didn't care. All that mattered to them right now is each other. The underworld, Gremory Estates, Gremory Castle, 3:28 a.m. The Gremory Estate is a set on multiple plots of circular-shaped land that are connected together with a bridge made out of pure nether stone. At the center of the estate, the largest piece of land, is where the Gremory Castle is situate. Tall, imposing, and European in design, the castle was meant to showcase the power and wealth the Gremory held. The interior of the castle was designed with the medieval European theme since that was when devilkind were at their strongest. Human used to cower in fear of the demon of the underworld, locking their doors at night, and prayed to God every day for safety. Those who practice in the way of witchcraft and wizardry put powerful barriers around their home, some powerful enough to stop Satan himself. But back in those days, whoever controlled these mystical forces are branded traitor to humanity, and are often killed by their own kind. Angels and fallen angels wouldn't dare to do anything to interfere with the mortal because they were too afraid. The fallen angels were small in number at those time, so small that they wouldn't pose a threat to even the Globulin fraction, which even though are great in the forge, lack physical prowess. The angels wouldn't come to aid mankind because God had just left the building, leaving behind his 12 children, the archangels. Unfortunately for them, the strongest of the archangels also happened to be the second eldest had fallen from grace, but didn't become a fallen angel. No, he became worse. That being became an angel whose mind was warped by the sins of humankind. The first angelic being to have ever walked along mankind. Lucifer was his name. Human had twisted his mind with their greed for wealth and lust for power that the only possible route to take was destroy all of humanity, to restore peace to earth, to bring his father back. Lucifer truly believed that the reason why his father, God, left heaven, their home, was because the disappointment he felt upon seeing how twisted his creations had become. It was simple logic really, destroy all of mankind, and father will return home, and everything will go back to the way they are. It was the logic that exists throughout time. Nobody likes change and would do anything in their power to stop it. Luckily for him, and unfortunately for mankind, Lucifer had the power to make it happen. Taking the purest and most beautiful human he could find, Lucifer turned her into a being with the malefic version of the angel's power, a demon. He turned her into his wife, twisted her mind so that the only thing she cares about were his goal, and the only thing she crave is the destruction of humanity. That woman's name was Lilith. Lucifer then came upon two humans, brother in every sense of the word. They were the strongest warriors in the human realm at the time, crushing everyone who dared step in their way. Strong, durable, and intelligence, a perfect general for his army, both of them were, in their own way. The younger brother inherited all those attributes but was more on the intelligent side, a complete pacifist that preferred talking it out but isn't afraid to fight if it was the only option left. The eldest brother, on the other hand, even though is very intelligent, preferred violence. He would fight anything and anyone as long as his brother was safe. A perfect example of an older brother. Both were going to be perfect in Lucifer's mind. There was only one problem. To instill trust and loyalty from one soldier, there can only be one general. He wanted the older brother as his general since that brother wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty in order to accomplish the mission. The problem was that he was too attached to his younger brother. He wouldn't abandon him no matter what. The solution was simple. Lucifer captured the younger brother and made a bargain with the older one. In order to free his kin, he needed to become a demon and work for him. The older brother agreed, but there was one problem. In order to become a demon, one must engulf himself in pure negative thought, or in another word, commit one of the 7 deadly sins. Lucifer could have done what he did with Lilith and twisted his mind so that he desired nothing more than destruction, but he needed the mind of this brother to be intact. The answer was easy. In order for the older brother to free his younger kin, he needed to release him. Release him from the mortal realm, that is. Lucifer ordered the older brother to murder the younger one, sending the deceased to heaven, while he himself descended deeper into hell. With the grief over the last of his brother, and the rage he felt at himself for killing his own flesh and blood, the older brother successfully transformed into a demon. The strongest demon, in fact. With a wife by his side and a general, all Lucifer needed now were soldier. So he handpicked the finest and fittest human specimen and turned them into demon, granting them powerful ability, a twisted version of the angelic power used by the angels in heaven. He named them the Knights of Hell. With an army of powerful soldiers and a strong and intelligent leader commanding them, Lucifer set his sight on the underworld, a perfect place for his demon to grow and a great headquarters for when the angels decided to get involved with his business. Back in those days, the underworld was the domain of Hades, the pagan god from the Greek pantheon. The battle was pretty one-sided. None of Hades' fellow soldiers stand a chance against Lucifer's knights. They were just out of the pagan god league. The Reapers wouldn't help Hades in the fight, since they knew perfectly well that Lucifer could destroy the god easily. With no choice, Hades was forced to escape to hell, leaving the underworld for Lucifer to claim. With the underworld as his base of operation, Lucifer began to extract human souls and put them in the underworld. Had his soldier torture them until the soul became nothing but a husk of its former self. Their humanity gone, nothing left but greed, envy, and lust. Basically the embodiment of evil. With an army ready, Lucifer marched up to the human realm, destroying anything and everything in sight. His demons completely wipe out more than 99% of the population in the planet. It wasn't a war, it was a massacre of humanity. Most of the destroyed soul came into the underworld, where they later become demon. Seeing this happening from above, the remaining 11 archangels decided to stop their brother, but they didn't have the manpower to fight back. In the end, Michael made a decision, one that would change the course of the fate of the world. He, along with the other archangels, used their divine energy to create a being so pure they reached heaven the day they were born, a being like them. The angels. With their immense power, the archangels managed to create billions upon billions of angels, but it came with a price, their immortality. The archangels were basically a weaker version of their father, God, so in a sense, they were immortal, undying. But they gave that, along with the majority of their power, to create an army of angels, the protectors of humanity. There is a good side to this though. Because the angels are created from the power of the archangel, they are many times stronger than regular demon. They're basically positive energy given consciousness. The angels are not the only one to help defend humanity though. The pagan gods also join in on the fray, and they were sure as hell mad, downright furious. You see, the pagan's god, unlike the biblical god, drew power from humans' belief. The more humans believe in them, the stronger they become. But thanks to Lucifer's action, their power dropped down drastically. So for the purpose of reclaiming their former glory, the pagans' gods along with their army, beasts of various mythology, sided with heaven with two goals in mind: defend what's left of humanity, and destroy the demons. They knew that even at full power, they are no match for Lucifer. Only Michael was before he used most of his divine energy making angels. The war was completely horrifying. Fire can be spread throughout the lands, smells of burnt flesh littered the battlefield, cries of anguish can be heard from the four corners of the world. It was a complete nightmare. The human called it the apocalypse, but God, who stood on the sideline recording all this, he called it a petty spat amongst siblings. Even though heaven received many allies, they were still on the losing side because of the sheer number of the demons, and the raw strength Lucifer possessed. For every 100 people, that is, 99 of them ended down in the underworld and transformed to demon. Then one day Lucifer just disappeared. No one knows what happened to him, but the underworld started to collapse without his presence. The general of the army, a man who killed his own brother, disappeared off the face of the earth. No one ever saw him again. The Knights of Hell were destroyed by the archangels himself, leaving no survivors. The only thing that is left are the regular demons, who kept on fighting. They were fighting a losing battle. With the combined force of the angels and the pagans, they managed to run the army of the underworld near extinction. The remaining demons surrendered, seeing no use to continue the bloodshed. It was an era of peace after that. The human population began to grow, and the might of the pagans grew stronger as well. The angels were tasked with defending humanity, spending their time watching out for any threats against God's greatest creation. Michael, the eldest of the archangels, took up the mantle of master of all creation, melding his soul with the world, keeping everything going, but not as well as God. And the demons, their population grew as well, and they began to build great city in the underworld, develop their unique culture. They created a government where 72 demons from 72 clans ruled. A bureaucracy. The 72 clan are based on the descendant of the original Knights of Hell, the greatest soldiers with their own unique power. The demons started to learn different kinds of magic, from different sources, eventually making them the most versatile beings in all of creation, but that, like everything else, came with a price. They started to gain humanity. From spending so much time with humans, they learned how to think for themselves, build amazing things with their bare hands, and even gain emotions they have never felt before. Something that gave them strength and meaning for their existence. They learned to love. They started to call themselves devils, a newer, better version of their ancestor. With all these new things going on, the devils forgot their old ways, the ways of a warrior. Their true powers were lost to the world, until now. Amazing, whispered Naruto as he leaned back against his chair, a thoughtful expression on his face. What he just read came directly from the tablet. Naruto couldn't wait until morning to read the words of God. It was just too tempting. So he came into his office at 3 in the morning to have a peek. Naruto felt bad about leaving Gabriel alone, but he thought that after a quick skim he'll go home. but after he started to read, Naruto found out that he couldn't stop. This, he muttered as Naruto inspected the tablet closely. At the top of the ancient relic was the Enochian symbol for demon. Is the complete history of our kind, the origin story of devils. Naruto couldn't help but thought about what he just read. He, of course, knew that their leader was Lucifer. Every demonic child knew that, but he would not have guessed that Lucifer was an archangel. To think someone can be twisted so much, they were willing to do something like that, mind-blowing, but, in a way, Naruto kind of understood him. Lucifer was a kind of man that doesn't like change. He likes to have everything the way it was. When his father left the house, he probably wanted to do anything to bring him back. Naruto could relate. He doesn't even know how he survived life in the past when Gabriel wasn't at his side, and frankly, he couldn't form an idea of what his life would be now if Gabriel wasn't his lover. He would rather die than let something like that happen. Naruto knew how painful it is to have a family member you love leave home without any warning. He had to experience the pain of watching his little sister run away from their home and into the territory of those pesky mortal. It seems he and Lucifer share many things in common. They are both abnormally powerful for their kind, afraid of changes, and when something important to them was taken, they would do anything to get it back. But what confused him was that how can Lucifer just disappear? Apparently not even God knows where he is because this tablet was made by the man himself. The anguished God must have felt the need to watch his children fight, knowing he couldn't do anything to stop it. The pain of not being able to do anything to help your children. Apparently Naruto can relate with many people these days. A thought suddenly struck him. It was said in the tablet that the archangels were God's firstborn, meaning they lived since the dawn of time. A horrified expression appeared on his face. Gabriel is an archangel. Metatron was an archangel. He killed Metatron. He killed Gabriel's brother. Gabriel was alive during the apocalypse. She lived through the nightmare on Earth. She had faced many horrifying events, and he, Naruto, had to kill her brother, one of the few people that she cared about in this world. He took something so important from her life. Naruto dropped the tablet in shock, not even checking it before teleporting to their home in America. Line break. Human realm, United States, Alaska. A red magical circle appeared in the luxurious log cabin. Crimson light reflected across the living room, unveiling the many portraits featuring Naruto and Gabriel. There are one of them having a picnic, one of them enjoying the day by the lake, and one of them with a baby boy, startling white hair, smiling like a happy family he wished they are. Naruto stepped out of the seal and made his way to the master bedroom, passing many more portraits of him and Gabriel. He passed his workspace, which was comfy looking with a fireplace and everything. Entering the bedroom, Naruto saw Gabriel still sleeping, wrapping her arm around his pillow, golden hair framing her face. Naruto sat on the bed and put her head on his lap, a content smile appear on her face as she snuggled in. He himself couldn't help but let a smile grace his face. Gabriel is truly an angel. Soft, silky, light blonde hair cascading down her head like threads weaved by the greatest weaver in the world. He especially liked how they would curled up in the end, forming loops that made her look even more divine. Creamy, white skin greatly contrasts to his suntan one as Naruto stroked her cheek. He truly didn't know why this divine creature would be with him, a beast that took away one of the few people that was precious to her, someone who had done countless sins just for his own greed and sick amusement. How could she love a monster? But he does know one thing, and that's as long as he has her, he will never let her go. He would rather face an army of titans than be separated from his beautiful angel. Then one day, he promised, he vowed to redeem himself to her, even if it meant taking a bath of holy water, something that would surely kill him, but it doesn't matter. Naruto would do anything for the angel that saved him from himself, the person who taught him love and forget hatred. The woman was the reason he continued to live in this accursed world. I love you, he whispered into her ear before kissing her on the forehead. Getting into bed with Gabriel, Naruto made sure to place her head onto his chest, his arms wrapped around her waist protectively. No one will hurt her as long as he's here, as long as he live. No one. Human Realm, Japan, Ku Academy, Old School Building, 3:34 a.m. Inside the old school building that housed the Occult Research Club, sat one Rias Gremory. She's currently in one of the many rooms in the building, which happened to be her bedroom. Sitting on top of her red, velvety, queen-size bed, Rias couldn't help but allow tears to fall from her eyes as she stared into the pendant clutched in her hand, recalling the event that just transpired that night. The pendant was shaped as the planet Saturn, the ring circulate in the middle of the Roman god of time. Today's been a long day for Rias, and she needed, a nice and quiet place to think and sob. First she tried to resolve her engagement with her fiancé, Riser Phoenix, by making her perverted pawn take her virginity. It was a bad idea from the start. Apparently, although being a perverted loser that spied on girls in the changing room, Issei, that was his name, had next to zero skill in bed, making the foreplay very awkward. The plan almost worked, if not for the surprise appearance of her brothers, Queen Graphia, who also happened to be Rias' sister-in-law, barging in before she can even take off Issei's pants. For a shameless pervert, he was surprisingly against the idea of having sexual intercourse with her, someone he continuously fawned over for having such a large pair of breasts. She might have not to worry about the marriage right now if not for Graphia, but now that Rias can think clearly, she, herself, can see many holes in the plan. Even if she was no longer a virgin, Rias could still accept her as his wife. He'll just most likely be pissed that he wasn't able to pop her cherry, and might, very likely, take out his anger with her peerage. After all, when devils married, they get semi-control over their spouse's peerage. Another thing to add in her long list of bad ideas. The problem was now, for the first time in her life, she had to face the consequences. Rias remembered her childhood clearly. She was not what you considered a very elegant and polite princess. Quite the opposite really. She was the kind of princess that was only known by for what her family was. The type of princess that was willing to do anything just to get notice, and she did, always escaping the castle and going into the city, causing mischief in her wake, pranking anyone that annoyed her, and the good part was that she always got away with no consequences. Considering who her siblings were, it wasn't very surprising, with her eldest brother being Cerzek's Lucifer, the strongest of the four Satan, as well as the ruler of the underworld, and an older brother being Naruto Gremry, one of the top 10 strongest beings in all of creation, as well as greatest political mastermind to have ever been born. No one dared lay a finger on her for fear of dying the most horrific death you can ever imagine. That was what she hated about her life in the underworld. She barely had any friends, other than Sona and Akino, later being Kaneko. All the other girls just wanted to be her friends so their parents could get in touch with one of her brothers. All they cared about was her famous family, not her. Rias was a black sheep in the Gremry household. Everyone expected her to be the strongest devil in her generation because she was born to the family of legends. They expected her to either become the next Satan like Cerzek, or a great political leader like Naruto. It was very difficult for a child to grow up with all that pressure weighing her down. Rias tried her hardest to become what everyone, including her parent, wanted her to become, but it just wasn't who she was. She didn't train every single day like Cerzek when he was her age, and she didn't study in their grand library with every moment of her free time like Naruto. Rias didn't have the same motivation as her brothers. She wasn't born to the time when the power between the three great factions was scrambled. She didn't have to pray to Lucifer every day for hope that everything was going to be back to normal like Cerzek. She wasn't raised in the battlefield like Naruto. Days in and days out, fighting for your home every minute of every day. Her brother lived in the time where blood was spilled everywhere you go, the time where you have to be a strong man unless you want to be a dead man. She just didn't have the drive to become stronger, other than to prove herself, that is. Rias spent as much time as she could to get stronger, something she didn't really enjoy, but she quickly came upon a conclusion. She just wasn't the prodigy everyone thinks she was, and frankly, she didn't want to be. She really wanted to follow in her brother's footsteps, she really does, and become a great and influential person, but it just wasn't who she was. Rias Gremry is a girl who cared about her family greatly, a girl that loved to do many girly things like watch romantic animes and go to conventions in her cosplay outfit, something she can never do in the underworld. That was probably one of the reasons why she ran away from her home in the underworld and came to the human realm. The other was because she wanted to get out of her family's shadow. Life in the human realm was tough for a 13-year-old devil. Rias didn't even get permission to enter the neutral area. She sneaked out of the Gremry castle at night and got onto a secluded train. She didn't even thought it through, and have no place to live. Rias was mentally berating herself for doing something that stupid now. Not only did she jeopardize her safety, but also the safety of her peerage, which include Akino, Kaneko, and Kiba. Luckily, she happened to stumble upon the area under the Citri command, and Sona was currently there, so they allowed her and her peerage to stay with them. Rias managed to trick Sona into not calling her brother and telling them where she was. It worked for 3 months before Serafal found out what happened and immediately called Naruto. To this day, she still never know why Serafal would be the one to report her, to Naruto no less. Serafal was always like a fun older sister to her, loving a good prank here and there, and liked to do nothing more than cause mischief. Yet she was the one that immediately told Naruto of her location, not her father, not her mother, not even Cerzek, Serafal co-worker, but Naruto of all people. If Rias didn't know any better, she would say that those two are having a secret affair with each other or something like that. Rias still felt pretty bad at what happened. Not only did she run away from home and possibly enter enemy territory, she didn't even call her family for 3 months, leaving them sad and miserable, worrying for her safety. It was probably one of the reasons why Naruto hated her so much. At that thought, more tears gathered in her eyes and fell down her cheeks as she let out a silent whimper. Channeling magic into the locker, the ring around the planet glowed slightly before spinning. It kept spinning until the ring is now vertical, then it split apart in the middle, revealing a photo inside. Seeing the photo caused more tears was released from Rias, her hand clasping the locket tightly as she stared at the picture mournfully yet longingly. It was a picture of a 5-year-old Rias with Naruto in his office. She was a cute little thing with shoulder-length crimson red hair and a bright smile on her face, kissing Naruto sloppily on his cheek while he smiled at her warmly, something he doesn't do for her now. Tears dropped into the locket as Rias cried quietly, not wanting Akino to wake up and see her in such a pathetic state. Naruto and her used to be so close when she was younger, before she ran away. They used to do everything together. Get breakfast together in the city, just the two of them. He played with her back when she had no friends. He was even the one who taught her how to use magic. Naruto couldn't teach her how to harness the power of destruction, of course, because he didn't inherit them from their mother, but that didn't stop him from teaching her many spells that can get her out of tough situation. Now that she thought about it, all the spells he taught her was to either escape or create a diversion. He wasted so much of his precious time to teach her all that, to protect the little sister that betrayed him. Rias clutched the locket in her hand harder, so hard that blood started to come off of her hand, but she didn't care. All she cared about right now was that she disappointed her brother. She now knew why he ignored her for all these years. It was because she had forsaken him. Naruto used to be like a personal tutor for Rias, teaching her the basic understanding of not only devils, but of all being in creation, lecturing her about the various weaknesses of the other two great factions, teaching her how they function, physically and politically. Now that she thought about it, the reason why she was so sure that she could defeat the fallen angels in their territory was because she knew their power like the back of her head. Rias knew that for fallen angels that only possessed one pair of wings, it was harder for them to generate light-based weapon now that their grace was tainted with evil intent. That was why they can only form spears. You can't get more basic than a sharp stick. She knew the exact time it took for them to generate said spear, the exact measurements of how much they have to rotate their wrist in order to launch said weapon. Rias even knew that they can only hit something in their field of vision. Unlike angels and devils, fallen angels don't have a great sense of awareness, a great weakness, something she greatly exploited. With all that data firmly in her mind, Rias can calculate the area where the spear will land and how much force it will have by judging the fallen angel's power level. She had an advantage over them since the beginning, and it was all thanks to her brother, Naruto. She began to cry again, this time a little louder. After thinking things over, she could see what Surzek now saw in her. She was a very selfish person. Rias didn't even think how her action at the abandoned church could affect her kind, and how it would put a dent in the already strained relationship between the three great factions. She wanted to say that what she did was completely justified and she had the rights to do it, but she couldn't. Surzek was right. The fallen angels were allowed to do whatever they want to Asia because she was a human at that time, and let's face it, humans are nothing more than a form of amusement to supernatural beings used to pass time. Rias couldn't even say that she had rescued Asia out of the goodness of her heart. In her mind she knew that the fallen angels wanted to extract the sacred gear, Twilight Healing, from her, and the process would kill said girl. A misfortune for Asia, but a perfect opportunity for her. She was ashamed to say it, but the reason why she had that argument with Issei, even though she knew he wouldn't listen, was to stall for time. She needed Asia dead so she could resurrect her into a devil. There are very little chance that a servant of heaven will agree to become a devil willingly, so her solution, don't give her the choice, take it. And that's just what she did. By wasting time on a petty argument with Issei, Rias managed to gain enough time for the fallen angels to finish their ritual, in other words, murder Asia. She did not only gain a new bishop, that would do anything Rias said because she saved her, but the rage Issei felt during the experience also awakened his sacred gear. It was a win-win situation for her, and she barely did anything. Being a high-class devil, Rias had no problem defeating 4 fallen angels by herself. Yet she chose to let her peerage handle the heavy lifting while all she did was taunt the enemy then revived Asia. All went according to her master plan to gain the healer with absolutely loyalty to her. All because of her lust to prove herself to everyone that she deserved to be in the Gremory household, and walk alongside her famous brothers. And having the girl who can heal any being in all of creation as her servant will make her one step closer to achieving her dream, her selfish dream. She clutched the locket tighter. Streams of tears continued to rain down on her cheeks, completely drenching the bedsheets underneath. Not that Rias noticed. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry for being so selfish. I'm sorry for being a burden. That was her final thought before the event of today crashed onto her full force. Exhaustion overloaded her mind as she welcomed blissful unconsciousness. Human Realm, United State, Alaska, 9:12 a.m. Naruto, dear, are you okay? Came the gentle voice of Gabriel. The two lovers are currently having breakfast in their balcony. An ornate, wooden table was set up there this morning. Naruto was sitting across from Gabriel with a frown, staring deeply into his coffee. I'm fine, Gabriel, he answered, still looking at his coffee with a frown. Sensing that someone was looking at him, Naruto looked upward and saw a cute frown on Gabriel's face. That and her innocent blue eyes filled with curiosity made him want nothing more than to have his way with her right now. Actually, that's what he always felt like doing no matter what facial expression she has. Really, it's nothing to worry about, Naruto reassured her with a smile before going back to his breakfast, which included crepe and an omelette. The blonde-hair angel released a sigh before standing up, catching the attention of her beloved. Naruto can be so stubborn sometimes, but she always knew how to get what she wanted from him. Quickly crossing the distance between them, Gabriel slipped into his seat and sat on his lap, a general smile on her face as she stared into the eyes of her boyfriend. Naruto looked at Gabriel with curiosity, and a little bit of lust. He couldn't help it. His angel was currently wearing a very loose, baby blue blouse that barely managed to hold her large breasts, and a pair of spandex capris, greatly emphasizing her amazing, toned leg. Naruto couldn't help but stared at her bra-class breasts that can be seen from the very see-through blouse. Sometimes he couldn't understand what Gabriel was thinking, wearing something like a see-through blouse over a frilly blue bra, and a tight spandex capris. Is this what she liked to wear, or is she trying to seduce him? Frankly, Naruto had no problem either way. Naruto, purred Gabriel, tugging at his collar. By now said devil was completely still. He was pretty sure she was trying to seduce him to tell her whatever was bothering him. But Naruto just doesn't have the will to resist her absolutely cute pouting lips and full blue eyes. It was both adorable and sexy, a deadly combination, especially since she somehow has a trace of innocent in there. Naruto didn't know how Gabriel can remain so innocent after everything they'd done together, or what she'd done to him. No, cough. Naruto coughed into his hand, trying to hide the fact that he stuttered in front of his girlfriend. But if that playful smirk she has on is any indication, she caught it. Nothing, dear, he answered hoarsely. By the tone of his voice, it was obvious to indicate that he's lying, and it seems that Gabriel heard it too since she gave him that illegally cute pout, making her irresistible. Are you sure you're not lying to me? Continued Gabriel as she leaned toward him, wrapping her arms around his head. My prince? It was too much for the Grammarier. His girlfriend was now kissing his neck, giving him great pleasure. Gabriel, we show Naruto didn't get to finish his sentence before the blonde angel captured his lips and proceeded to kiss him furiously, not giving him an opportunity to do anything. She was very dominant when she wanted to be. Releasing the kiss, Gabriel smiled as she gazed into the dazed eyes of her boyfriend. Now she can ask or order him for anything. This was how she got him to buy her the Mall of America for Valentine's Day. Now, my prince, muttered the archangel as her mischievous eyes gazed into his dazed one. Tell me what's wrong. Human realm, United States, Alaska. Gabriel stormed into the house, her face red and puffed up, clearly showing her annoyance. With a huff, the blonde-haired angel went into the middle of the living room and sat on the couch, her arms crossed over her impressive chest, and glared at the television that's currently off. Gabriel, love, can you please open the door? Came the nervous voice of Naruto from the other side of the door. The balcony. Said angel just ignored him and continued to glare at the TV. Gabriel was so annoyed that she unconsciously channeled some of her angelic power into her eyes, causing it to glow brightly. The next thing she knew, the flat-screen TV exploded, parts scattered around, some hitting her, causing several cuts to form around her. Ouch! Cried Gabriel as she held her bleeding arm. This is all your fault, Naruto. How is this my fault, dear? The familiar voice came directly in back of her, astonishing Gabriel in the process, causing her to jump slightly. Stealing her composure, Gabriel just huffed and turned her head away from her boyfriend, clearly showing her annoyance with him. Seeing that, the red-haired devil didn't know whether to sigh in annoyance or kiss her for being so cute. With her puffy, red cheeks, her arms crossed, and the annoyance in her eyes, Gabriel looked absolutely adorable. Oh, don't be like that, love, said Naruto, his hand glowing bright green. He placed the hand on her right shoulder, immediately the small wounds healing. Gabriel had to bite her lip to stop herself from moaning. He was always like this. Whenever she gets mad or upset, he'll give her pleasure beyond belief. Then the next thing she knew, she forgave him and they were having steaming, hot sex. But not today. She'll continue to be angry at him until he does what he should have done, and by that Gabriel meant he'll need to go to the Phoenix Mansion and drown Riser Phoenix in holy water. That's not going to work, moaned the former archangel as she arched her back, releasing a pleasurable moan. Naruto moved his hand onto her waist, healing most of her wounds now, and making her feel nothing but ecstasy. What did you say, dear? Inquired the ever-innocent redhead as he wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her into his lap. Being the ever-feisty angel, she half-heartedly tried to put up a struggle, which didn't work, obviously. Naruto was applying raw demonic energy into his palm, making whatever he touched completely submit to him, and feel complete ecstasy. It was a trick he learned from the demon tablet, which was in a safe, at his office right now. Of course, since Gabriel is a very powerful being, half of the effect doesn't work on her. Her angelic aura made her immune to the submission of others unless she allowed it, thus making her feel pleasure only from his touch. With great difficulty, she managed to evade his allure. Saint, stop it, Naruto! Exclaimed the red-faced angel as she jumped away from his embrace. Only a second away, and she already missed her beloved's touch. You have a serious problem in your hands, and I'm not letting you leave until you do something about it. Her face was completely serious. The redness started to fade away into her milky skin. Releasing a sigh, Naruto sat up straight and motioned for Gabriel to sit next to him. She chose to sit on his lap instead, something he didn't mind at all. Fine, what do you want to talk about, my love? He asked as he ran his finger through his beloved angel's silky, blonde hair, enjoying how soft it was, and the amazing, yet unique fragrance that you can only find in a female archangel. You know what, Naruto, stated Gabriel calmly as she unconsciously leaned her head toward her boyfriend, staring blankly at the destroyed television. I don't know what's wrong with you, I really don't. She folded her arm together and put it over her chest, making the dress she was wearing become looser, thus allowing Naruto to see more of her creamy, bountiful cleavage. You and Rias used to be so close, Naruto. You used to personally decline any marriage proposal they sent her way. Now you're letting a lowlife marry your sister without a fight. I just don't get that. Her voice was calm, but you can clearly hear the edge around them. Rias was like a little sister to her too. The devil used to visit her when she was little. Naruto would sneak her out of the Gremory Castle and to their home in Alaska so the little girl wouldn't be lonely and played with someone who would treat her like herself. Like everything else, those times ended as well. It ended when Rias decided to break Naruto's heart. Personally, Gabriel sees a little of herself in Rias. They were both people that came from a very prestigious family. Rias's family was one of the remaining 34 pillar of the underworld, and hers was a family where their father was God himself. They were both the youngest of the siblings, the only female amongst their kin, and they both were constantly in the shadow of their brothers, dreaming that one day they might be able to be equal. Rias was always walking behind her brothers, Naruto and Surzek, dreaming that one day she might be able to walk alongside them, while she, Gabriel, has 11 brothers, all whom she surpassed except 2, Michael and Lucifer. Michael was always the strongest of the archangels, even keeping the status of archangel after the creation of the guardian of humanity, while Lucifer, while cannot be found, still kept all of his angelic power, even though they are dark and vile now. Both girls shared similar burdens, lived in a family of greatness, and only wished to be recognized by their peers for who they are, not who they were expected to be. Gabriel already had achieved that. Her name was forever burned into the memory of those in the war, while Rias, on the other hand, has very little people that recognize her for who she was, very few individuals. I don't see how this is any of your concern. As soon as Naruto finished that sentence, he immediately regretted it, and it had nothing to do with the fact that the temperature dropped down to freezing level, or the fact that ever glassware in the house spontaneously combusted, except the magical enhanced window. It was the fact that Gabriel glared at him. She never glared at him before, other than a playful one. She stood up, glaring at him, causing Naruto to stand up also. Not my concern? Repeated the seraph. Her hair covered her eyes, shadowing her face. Naruto realized his mistake and was about to say something when suddenly, Gabriel's eyes were visible. Anger can clearly be seen in them. Naruto shivered in fear, mentally glad that he had several sigil around the premises that prevent an angel from losing their grace. Manichaeism Gabriel most likely would, because she was feeling one of the 7 deadly sins. How can this not be my concern, Gremory? She all but shouted, making Naruto wince at the volume, and from the fact that she called him by his birth name, something she'd never done before, well before they became lovers. Rias is like a little sister to me. How do you think I feel when you decided to marry her off to some random stranger? Naruto didn't say anything for a moment. The moment don't last long as a determined expression fell on his face. This is for the greater good of devil kind. A child born with the immortality possessed by the phoenix and the power of destruction from Rias will be a great addy. Naruto tried to explain the reasons for his actions, but was interrupted by his lover. I know that you don't believe in that rubbish, Naruto. Snapped back Gabriel, her eyes glowing slightly. Do you understand what you're doing to poor Rias? Setting her up with someone she doesn't love, someone she can't stand. Do you really want to set her up in a loveless marriage, Naruto? The red-haired devil actually looked thoughtful after what his love said. Sadness flashed through his eyes. A loveless marriage, is that what he really wanted for his sweet little sister? His eyes suddenly darkened, a red, eerie glow appearing in them as he remembered all the pain, the sadness, and the anger he felt when she ran away. This is none of your concern, Angel, stated Naruto in utter indifference, his feature neutral as his eyes emitted an eerie, red glow. Gabriel looked quite startled for a second. Naruto had never called her that before. He also never used that tone with her. This was the first time in their entire relationship he's been this way. However, she wouldn't let this deter her from her goal, retaliation setting in her eyes. Both orbs began to glow with holy energy, and a fierce look took her features. Rias is my sister, I know what's best for her, he stated nonchalantly, making sure to emphasize the word my. Your sister? Since when does being a brother made you God? What gave you the right to change the course of someone else's life? Since when did you have the right to decide who she will marry? Stated Gabriel angrily, her eyes glowing and her body being covered by fiery angelic power. The sounds of bells screeching could be heard resonating throughout the room. The windows shattered under the missive power of the former archangel. Since she betrayed me. Naruto's voice was calm and soft, yet it held untold amount of sadness, betrayals laced in his every word. Gabriel stopped her flow of energy. The screeching stopped as she stared at her boyfriend in shock. That wasn't the answer she was expecting. She betrayed me, Gabriel. I know you knew the feeling. His eyes lost all life, lost their shine, as he sat down, hands interlocked, staring at his interlocking fingers. The sadness I felt that day. The thought of my dear little sister running always from home. The grief, the despair I felt, thinking that it was me that drove her away, the cause of departure. His eyes held so much sadness now, looking so lost. Gabriel wanted to do nothing more than comfort him at this point, the energy surrounding her long gone, but that feeling soon change. But that all change. His voice cold, uncaring, full of hatred. His eyes were sharp as he glared up at her, glowing a pure darkness, a crimson glow, the color she remembered clearly from her past. I started to understand what truly happened that day. It wasn't me that caused Rias to leave home. No, she chose it. His glow intensified, rumbling could be heard underneath them. She chose humans over her family. She chose strangers over us, the family that raised and loved her. She decided to repay our kindness, our love, by stabbing us, me in the back. His voice echoed through the room, the sound of thunder raging overhead, the crashing of the waves, and the rumbling of the earth can be heard clearly. It was like nature itself was responding to Naruto's anger. Like it was a part of him. She decided that living with filthy vermin was better than the comfort of her family. That's what gave me the right. She betrayed me, she betrayed us all, stated the angry devil, the sounds of winds circulating and trees weeping echoed through. And now, she must pay the price. Consequences for the pain she caused us. His eyes glowed brightly. A lightning struck outside at that exact moment, causing a huge flash to appear over the room. Then they all disappeared, the roaring of thunders, the whipping of winds, the cries of water, and the rumbling of earth, it just all disappeared. Naruto also seemed to calm down as he took a deep breath of air, and stared at his hand. Gabriel stood by, not sure of what to do. This wasn't their first fight, but it was surely their most upsetting. She wanted to do something, but what? A part of her wanted to comfort him, but there was that logical side of her brain that didn't. It was a dilemma. I'm going back to the office, I'm late anyway, said Naruto indifferently as he stood up, turning away from her, then disappeared into thin air. No seal, no flashing, just disappeared. Tears started to gather in the blonde angel's eyes. This was, without a doubt, the worst fight they ever had as lovers. Not being able to do anything for the time being, Gabriel's body began to glow brightly. The light started to shrink, taking the shape of a cross, before disappearing altogether. The underworld, Gremry territory, Gremry castle. The maid of the Gremry household scurried away in a hurried manner, their face drenched with sweat as the atmosphere around them became saturated with pure magical energy, swirling around the air of the clan. Those who were far away enough are lucky, they managed to escape the wrath that was Naruto Gremry. Those who were near him were most unfortunate. Naruto stomped across the castle with an apathetic expression, but from the aura emitting from him, anyone could have guessed that he wasn't in the best of mood. The marble he was stepping on became nothing but a small crater. His power over gravity made his mass grow. In his emotional turmoil, all of his power became crazy, unpredictable, and out of control. He could have controlled his own power, quite easily in fact, but after the argument with the one person he loved more than himself, well, let's just say that he has no care for anything else right now. Which would explain why every maid and butler in his way were blown off from where they were standing, crashing against the wall, and leaving a crater behind. Even though he didn't travel through the entire castle, all the resident can clearly pick up on his essence. Naruto's mind wasn't in the best of shape right now, so he didn't make sure to suppress his power. Anyone below high class fell to their knee from the pressure. The low-class devil fainted from oxygen deprivation because their body wasn't strong enough to separate the oxygen they took in with the magical energy from the air. Ended with their body collapsed to the floor, their eyes rolled back behind their skull. Not that Naruto care, of course, said Devil, just continue his march toward his office, completely disregarding everything around him. Seeing the mahogany, wooden door of his office, he head toward it, needing some alone time right now. Weaving his demonic energy mentally, the door immediately recognized his magical signature and opened by itself, revealing the room how it was after Naruto left it this morning. He could still see evidence of what happened last night. The lantern was still open. If it was a regular model, then the fuse would have exploded by now, and the demon tablet was still on the floor, proof that he left in a hurry. Without a word, Naruto made his way to his desk. The door of his office closed automatically. Sitting on his chair, Naruto checked and saw that there was a new stack of manila folder in the corner, just like it was supposed to. You see, every morning new sets of document will be sent directly to his desk. Only a few people can do this, since they need his permission first, and those are the member of the Elder Council, the four great Satan, and his father, the head of the Gremry household. Naruto grabbed the top folder and opened it, looking at the heading for some clue as to what it's about, a habit he does so he can judge how important it is. 7 sins broke out of heaven's prison. The words echoed through his mind, but unfortunately, the only word Naruto paid attention to was heaven, which caused him to think about his lovely lover, Gabriel, and that thought led him to think about the fight that they just had, which caused him to lose focus of everything else. Putting the folder back in its pile, Naruto clutched his head with both hands. Thousands of thoughts and emotions traversed through his mind at high speed. This is Naruto's greatest weakness, Gabriel. Whenever they had a fight or he just missed her too much, his mind would automatically shut down and focus on only one thing, and that thing was his love. In another word, the only thing that Naruto can think of right now is how to make amends to Angel. Getting her a rose was the first thing that popped into his mind, but the idea was immediately shot down. Gabriel is the most precious thing in Naruto's life. Buying her a flower will just be an insult to how much she meant to him. Immediately, another idea came to mind. Buy her diamond. No, a jewelry shop. No. The idea was horrible. Gabriel was worth more than any material object. To gain back her love and affection, he needed to do something big, something that she wanted greatly, something that once he'd done it, she'll forgive him, and they could be together again. The problem was that he had no idea what to do. Naruto grabbed the coffee from last night and took a sip, but immediately spat it out, glaring at the cup angrily. The coffee was so cold, which was understandable since it's been left outside all night. Releasing a sigh, Naruto rubbed his forehead. Today's going to be a long day for him. Human realm, Japan, Ku Academy, old school building. Rias, are you okay now? Whispered a female softly as she rubbed Rias's back soothingly. The young woman was about the same age as Rias, was short, raven hair and purple eyes. Her attire are the same as Rias's, implying that she goes to the same school. Yeah, thank you for this, Sona, sniffed the red-haired beauty as she threw away another used tissue onto the floor, but was soon picked up by Akino, who stood by her side. Rias then turned and looked around the room, where all but one member of her peerage sat, and gave a weak smile. Thank you all. Kiba, a young blonde-haired man who was also Rias's knight, gave her a warm smile, something that would melt the heart of any regular schoolgirl. It's no problem, President, we are glad to help, came his smooth voice. A blonde-haired girl about 15 years of age nodded in agreement alongside a short white-haired girl. The brown-haired boy that looked to be about the same age of Kiba just looked confused. Clearly he wasn't informed about the events that happened last night. Kiba is correct, President, you can always count on us, chirped the ex-church member named Asia, making Rias smile a little brighter. Seeing that the brown-haired boy wasn't going to comment, the resident knight elbowed him in the ribs. Ouch. What's the deal, Kiba? Exclaimed Issei before a look of realization appeared on his face. Asia writes, President, you can always depend on us. Even though he didn't know what Rias's problem was, or what was going on really, his voice held nothing but conviction. Sona had to smile from her seat. It was nice to know that her friend and rival have such a great peerage. It almost made her feel jealous of not for the fact that she loved her peerage dearly. You have such a great peerage, Rias, commented the heiress of the Citri household, causing the red-haired heiress to smile warmly as he gazed fixated on her peerage. No, her family. I know. She suddenly gave her best friend a hug, something said Devil was surprised of, but returned nonetheless. Thank you for making me feel better, Sona, everyone. She released from the embrace, then turned toward everyone else in the room, who were all sitting on the sofa opposite of her, except her queen, who was standing in back of her. Thank you for helping me through my problems. I promise that this will be the last. Sona just looked at her in confusion, while the other, except Akino, smiled at her words. What do you mean, Rias? You still have that problem with Riser, remember? Reminded the raven-haired devil as she stared at her friend directly in the eyes. All Rias did was gave her a smile with her eyes closed. The Citri heiress can clearly tell that the smile was forced. It's okay, Sona, there won't be a problem with Riser. What do you mean no problem? You don't want to marry him, right? Her answer was the fake smile of Rias, which told her all she needed to know. Issei and Asia looked confused. They didn't know that their king was getting married. Rias, please tell me that you're not intending on marrying that pig. Please tell me no. I'm sorry, son, but I don't have a choice, whispered the crestfallen crimson-haired beauty. Before Sona can respond, Rias continued. My brother, both of them really, are already debating whether or not I'm worth the trouble. I'm sure you heard that the elders wanted me executed for what happened at the abandoned church. Sona, even though shocked, just nodded. The news was all over the underworld. How the heiress from the Gremry clan killed the fallen angels, an action that can spark the Second Great War. Even though she knew in her heart that Rias' decision were justified, the logical side of her mind couldn't help but point out that what she did was for her own selfish gain. The other, however, are just shocked, plain and simple. And that's why. I'm going to marry Riser. No fight, no argument, I'll just do what I have to do, said Rias with an acceptance tone, yet showed a hint of sadness. Sona just looked toward her direction in shock, based on her best friend's body language, the sagged shoulder and the black rings around her eyes. It was clear that Rias thought that she couldn't do anything to fight this. Her only option is to accept the marriage with no complaint, like a good little girl. Wait! Came the loud voice of the resident Red Dragon Emperor. Everyone turned to look at him as said man stood up, an expression of complete shock plastered on his face. You're getting married, President? Those around the room wanted nothing more than to facepalm at his dumb question, while Rias just smiled at her, pawn, sadly. That is correct, Issei. I'm scheduled to marry Riser next month. Her tone was that of acceptance. Of someone who is just too tired to fight. But why are you marrying him if you don't want to? Even someone as dense as Issei can clearly tell that Rias wants nothing more than to cancel the marriage. That was why he was so shocked of her acceptance. She doesn't have a choice. Sona answered for her friend, fixing her glasses as she gave Issei a hard stare, causing said devil to shrink back into his chair. Her fiancé, Riser, came from one of the most prestigious clan in the underworld, the Phoenix household. A look of realization crossed Asia's face while disgust was clearly shown on Akino's, Kaniko's, and Kiba's face. Issei just looked confused like always. I don't get it, admitted the confused Longinus holder, tilting his head slightly to the side. Riser came from a family almost as grand as mine, said Rias, desiring to shade her pawn curiosity. My parent instilled the marriage before I was even born, and since it's my parent we're talking about, the lord and lady of the Gremry clan, I have no other option than to accept. Issei looked like he understand. It doesn't mean he like it, no, he just found that the devil system worked like that of the Japanese feudal system. Those with power get to call all the shots, while those below them have to follow the orders at all costs. Don't say that, Rias, there's always a way, as long as you believe in it, whispered the Citri heiress as she placed her hand on Rin's face, cupping her cheek. You taught me that, remember? The heiress of the Gremry clan gave her best friend a hug. Thank you, she whispered into the raven-haired girl's ear before breaking the embrace, staring at her in the eye. But I can't do anything about it now. The preparation have already begun and Rias is coming today for a visit. She then released a sad sigh. There's nothing we can do to stop this. You are correct, my dear Rias. A distinctive male voice echoed through the room, causing a small frown to appear on Rias's and Sona's face, a surprised expression on Issei's face. What? Where the voice coming from? Exclaimed the clearly freak-out sacred gear weirder, standing up and looking around. Is it a ghost? Is this place haunted? Kaniko's wanted nothing more than to punch the lights out of the oblivious boy, and how can someone be afraid of ghosts if they're devil, a higher being in the supernatural chart? Calm down, Issei, stated/commanded the student body president, map using Issei mid-movement, making him change his direction so he was staring at her serious and sullen face. It's something much worse. Oh, Rias doesn't know Sona can be quite the comedian. The same voice echoed through the room, making Issei look around again, but suddenly, a gigantic red magical seal, with a different design as the Gremory one, appear in the open spaces of the room. Everyone beside the two Eras stated in shock as fire suddenly exploded upward from the seal, creating a gigantic pillar of searing flame that crashed into the magical reinforced roof. The low-class devil in the room could feel the temperature increase tremendously, sweat rolling down their body. The flames died down, revealing a young 20-years-old man with blonde hair. His outfit consists of a burgundy blazer with gold embroidery on the right with matching pants and black dress shoes. Underneath his open blazer is a white dress shirt that is not fully buttoned, giving a slight view to his chest. Immediately after the young man was revealed, Sona's expression darkened while Rias's peerage just stared at the man in awe. The magical power released from the man was enormous, making it hard for the weaker devils to breath, especially Issei whose only strength is his sacred gear. Good to see you again, my dear Rias, exclaimed the man joyously before looking at her peerage with an expression of disdain. I am Rias, heir of the Phoenix household and Rias's fiancé. The smug look on his face clearly expressed his amusement at seeing the shocked expressions on his fiancé's peerage. Human realm, United State, Colorado, Denver, local bar, a place where human adults walked in with dignity, then walked out like a jester, where one's life are at risk from those whose minds aren't stable enough from the alcohol served here. This was one of the reasons why Naruto hated humanity so much, they're just so violent. A creature made out of flaws. He might sound like a hypocrite since he was the one in the bar he himself detested so much, but right now Naruto didn't care. He needed something to do so he can relax his mind a bit. There you go, sir, came the voice of the blonde woman who also happened to be the bartender. Do you need anything else, sir? Normally she wouldn't be this formal with anyone, but just by looking at this man, anyone could have guessed that he was royalty. The way he held himself was of a man that commanded respect from those around him, and the idea of following his order was quite appealing. The attractive blonde, gulping down another porcelain glass of handmade, fine wine, the red-headed devil stared at the beautiful bartender in what could be described as longing. Her hair was golden blonde, just like his beloved Gabriel. Her eyes were sparkling blue, staring at him the same way as his angel used to when she wanted something, albeit with less love in them. Suddenly a dark and suffocating aura encased him, not that the human can see it, but they can feel it, especially the bartender who was unconsciously reminding Naruto of his angel. Get out! He growled darkly in a hushed whisper, but everyone around him could hear the underlying threat. The female bartender, currently choking, gasping for airs, looked at him fearfully. I said get out now! His voice was louder and the aura emitting from him was enormous, weak for a devil, but mammoth to mortal, causing him to gain attention of almost everyone in the bar. But no one was willing to interfere. They were all scared for their life. That caused Naruto to mentally tch it was so like human to only care about himself. He was about to say something else since the blonde hadn't moved, but a hand clutching his shoulder made him freeze. Whoa there buddy, that's no way to treat a lady, came the masculine voice to his right. Naruto turned around, following the hand currently clutching onto his shoulder, and widened his eyes slightly upon seeing the man. It was not his appearance that surprised him. No, the long light brown hair and angular face are very common in this area of town. It was the fact that this being managed to make him feel something he hadn't felt in a long time. Pain. The grip was not very painful, but he still felt pain regardless. Not even a giant fireball from the head of the Phoenix clan, or the power of destruction from the Bale clan could make him feel pain. But here's this man, some random stranger, managing to make him hurt, even though slightly, by just touching him. His body tensed in preparation for a fight. It also didn't help that his face reminded Naruto of someone from his past. He just couldn't remember who that was, however, before he remembered who he was. He was the man that single-handedly wiped out a legion of fallen angels, fought Hades to a standstill, and discovered the word of God. Surely this mortal wasn't something to worry himself over. Call him arrogant, but Naruto knew that there are very few beings that could best him. He could count those guys with one hand. Ignoring the man that caused him slight pain, Naruto turned back to the female bartender who was struggling to get back on her feet, and gave her the glass. Vodka! Snapped the redhead. The blonde-haired woman grabbed the glass hurriedly, then practically ran to the cellar, completely making a fool out of herself. Not that anyone who saw that ended her. They can understand that if they were in her position, they will want nothing more than to get out of the man's presence. Calm down there, buddy, said the brown-haired man without any concern of what just transpired and sat at a seat directly to Naruto left. That attitude won't help you get your lady back. The red-haired devil snapped his head toward the unknown stranger direction. A look of surprise was clearly on his face before he schooled it, preparing to kill the man for knowing about Gabriel. Well, if that happened, he would have to murder everyone in the bar since there cannot be any form of a witness. Oh well. This wasn't the first time he performed a full-on massacre just because someone pissed him off. A murderous aura started to engulf him again, robbing everybody near him of oxygen, making them choke. The stranger didn't seem to mind the aura, or he just wasn't affected as the man met Naruto's gaze with one of amusement. How do you know that? Whispered Naruto, a glare on his face. The man's reply was a smirk and a strange glint in his eyes. Well, if I tell you that, it wouldn't be so fun now, is it, Naruto? Said man's eyes widen. Clearly he wasn't expecting a human to know his name. Ah, thank you, my fair lady, the clearly not human male said as he gave the waitress a smile, thanking her for the alcohol, before turning back to one of the strongest devil in existence. Now, where were we? Oh wait, I know. A mischievous smirk plastered on his face as he leaned closer to Naruto. You were trying to find out how I know about you and the little minx. He released an exaggerated sigh, clearly mocking the devil. Oh please, don't you think I would know when someone's whoring around with my slut of a sister? A look of realization appeared on Naruto's face as he finally registered why the man looked so familiar. Seeing the look on his face, the man couldn't help but let loose a chuckle, which grew louder when he saw the expression of horror and disbelief on Naruto's face. So you finally figure out who I am, didn't you? He leaned in closer, never looking away from Naruto's eyes. That's right, you filthy devil, it's me, the guy you killed out of sheer jealousy in the last war. A dark and hungry look plastered on the man's face as he glared at Naruto. Prepare yourself, Naruto. Metatron is home, and he wants revenge. What if Naruto x Gabriel in high school DxD? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.